Thousand Sons Legion, led by Magnus the Red, as they descend into betrayal, self-destruction, and exile within the galaxy-spanning conflict of the Horus Heresy. The plot opens with the Great Crusade at its height, with the Emperor and his Primarchs conquering new worlds and uniting humanity under the Imperium. However, the novel quickly distinguishes itself by focusing on the intellectual and mystical pursuits of the Thousand Sons, whose deviant interest in forbidden knowledge and psychic powers make them both exceptional and increasingly feared within the Imperium. We begin with a focus on the Thousand Sons' intellectualism and fascination with mysticism, setting them apart from the more militaristic legions. The 28th expedition, led by Magnus, arrives on the planet Agoru, a world with a unique, unnaturally structured mountain that draws Magnus and his warriors due to its mysterious energies. It is here that McNeil establishes the tension between the Legion's desire to understand the Warp, a realm of chaotic psychic power, and the Imperium's strict prohibition of sorcery. Magnus, characterized as both ambitious and tragically flawed, is willing to explore these forbidden arts if it means protecting his legion from a genetic flaw that leads to grotesque mutations. The initial scenes on Agoru depict the Thousand Sons' attempts to solve the mystery of the mountain alongside Magnus's explorations into warp energy. Their time on Agoru is a display of the Thousand Sons' extraordinary psychic powers, and it serves to illustrate Magnus's allure toward arcane knowledge despite its risks. In their interactions with Agoru's indigenous people, McNeil emphasizes the respect and restraint with which Magnus and his men approach new cultures, painting them as scholars and diplomats rather than conquerors. However, as they delve further into the mountain, the Legion's use of psychic abilities attracts unwanted attention from other factions in the Imperium. The tension escalates as the Emperor issues the Edict of Nicaea, formally banning the use of psychic powers among the legions. This decree, a pivotal moment in the Horus Heresy, reflects the Emperor's decision to safeguard humanity from the dangers of the Warp. For Magnus and the Thousand Sons, the edict is both an insult and a crisis, given that psychic mastery defines their identity. McNeil uses this moment to explore Magnus's internal conflict. While he remains loyal to the Emperor, he believes that his psychic talents are vital to humanity's future. Defying the Emperor's orders, Magnus continues his studies in secret, convinced that he alone can handle the powers of the Warp without succumbing to its corruption. This defiance sets in motion a series of tragic events as Magnus is drawn deeper into forbidden knowledge, compromising both his loyalty to the Emperor and the safety of his legion. His conviction that he can outwit the Warp's dangers reveals his tragic flaw, hubris, and underscores the inevitability of his downfall. The climax of Asterisk, A Thousand Sons. Asterisk builds around the catastrophic burning of Prospero, a cataclysmic event in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. The Emperor, enraged by Magnus's defiance, orders the Space Wolves, led by Leman Russ, to bring the Thousand Sons to justice. Russ and Magnus's ideological clash culminates in an intense, large-scale conflict as the Space Wolves descend upon Prospero, intent on annihilating the Thousand Sons. The burning of Prospero is a tragic and harrowing sequence, meticulously described by McNeil to convey both the physical destruction of Prospero's City of Light and the psychological devastation of its inhabitants. The Thousand Sons, fiercely loyal to Magnus and the Emperor alike, find themselves defending their home against fellow Astartes, trapped in a conflict that Magnus had sought to avoid. Through Magnus's realization of the devastating consequences of his actions, McNeil brings to life the full tragedy of the Thousand Sons, who are forced to defend their very existence as they are outcast and labelled traitors. Magnus's eventual surrender to the Warp to save his remaining sons from complete annihilation is both heartbreaking and inevitable, underscoring the heavy price of his defiance and ambition. In a final act of desperation, Magnus pledges allegiance to the Chaos Gods to ensure his legion's survival, sealing his tragic fate and marking the Thousand Sons' transformation into a cursed, exiled faction. Let's take a deep dive into the characters, which will focus on the key characters in Asterisk, A Thousand Sons, Asterisk. I'll cover Magnus the Red, Azek Ahriman, and Leman Russ in particular, highlighting their development, motivations, and their unique roles in this tragic narrative. Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Sons, is one of the most complex and tragic characters in the Warhammer 40k universe. In Asterisk, A Thousand Sons Asterisk, Magnus is portrayed as a larger-than-life figure, physically imposing, intellectually brilliant, and morally ambiguous. Known as the Crimson King, he possesses unmatched psychic power, which he views as both a blessing and a curse. His red skin and cyclopean eye are physical manifestations of the mutation he has come to accept as part of his identity, setting him apart from his fellow Primarchs and foreshadowing his isolation. Magnus's primary motivation is to protect his legion from the curse of mutation that threatens their existence. He sees the development of psychic abilities as a means to control this instability, which draws him into forbidden research and aligns him with powers that the Imperium deems dangerous. Magnus genuinely believes that his knowledge of the warp can benefit humanity, positioning him as a tragic hero whose noble intentions lead to catastrophic outcomes. McNeil captures Magnus's internal conflict, showcasing his struggle between loyalty to the Emperor and his commitment to protect and empower his sons through the very knowledge the Emperor has forbidden. Magnus's tragic flaw, hubris, is central to his character arc. Despite warnings from the Emperor and fellow Primarchs, Magnus believes he can wield the power of the warp without succumbing to its corruption. His insistence on defying the Emperor's Edict of Nicaea is both an act of pride and a testament to his desperation. Magnus cannot bear the thought of abandoning his psychic studies, as they are integral to his legion's survival and identity. This hubris blinds him to the consequences of his actions, setting him on a collision course with fate. Magnus's defiance is not rooted in malice, but in his conviction that he knows best. A tragic miscalculation that ultimately leads to the burning of Prospero. McNeil portrays Magnus's fall as a series of choices driven by love, loyalty, and an intense desire to protect his sons. Yet, as the Space Wolves descend upon Prospero, Magnus is forced to confront the devastating reality of his decisions. His surrender to the Chaos Gods is not a sudden embrace of evil, but a final act of sacrifice to save what remains of his legion. This nuanced portrayal of Magnus underscores his status as a tragic hero, a figure whose downfall is as much a result of his virtues as it is of his flaws. Azek Ahriman, the chief librarian of the thousandsons, serves as a central figure and a lens through which readers experience the events leading to the Legion's tragic fate. Ahriman is both a devoted follower of Magnus and a brilliant scholar in his own right, known for his mastery of the psychic arts and his pursuit of knowledge. Throughout the novel, Ahriman embodies the thousandsons' intellectual curiosity, yet he is haunted by a growing sense of dread regarding the path his legion is following. Ahriman's loyalty to Magnus is unwavering, but he is not blind to the risks associated with their explorations of the warp. His internal conflict mirrors that of his Primarch, as he grapples with the ethical implications of their psychic abilities and the potential for corruption. Ahriman's dedication to knowledge is a double-edged sword. While it enables him to wield extraordinary power, it also exposes him to the dangers of the warp, drawing him closer to the precipice of damnation. McNeil's portrayal of Ahriman's intellectual prowess is balanced by his vulnerability, showing a character torn between duty, loyalty, and a growing fear of the unknown. Throughout Asterisk, A Thousand Sons, Asterisk, Ahriman emerges as a tragic figure in his own right, marked by his commitment to Magnus and his refusal to turn away from knowledge, even as it leads them toward disaster. His journey is a parallel to Magnus' own, culminating in the realization that their pursuit of knowledge has come at an unimaginable cost. Ahriman's descent into tragedy is solidified in his eventual embrace of the infamous Rubric of Ahriman, a spell he would later cast to prevent the physical degradation of his fellow Thousand Sons, which would inadvertently curse them to a fate of eternal exile as soulless automatons. This transformation of Ahriman from loyal scholar to a tragic anti-hero adds a layer of complexity to his character, underscoring the heavy price of knowledge and ambition. Leman Russ, the Primarch of the Space Wolves, stands in stark contrast to Magnus and Ahriman. Known as the Wolf King, Russ embodies the Imperium's martial discipline, loyalty to the Emperor, and uncompromising sense of justice. He is a warrior first and foremost, viewing the Thousand Sons' use of psychic powers as a dangerous deviation from the Emperor's vision for humanity. His ideological opposition to Magnus is rooted in his deep-seated distrust of sorcery, which he sees as a threat to the stability and purity of the Imperium. Russ's role in the novel is that of the Emperor's enforcer, tasked with bringing the Thousand Sons to justice after Magnus defies the Edict of Nicaea. He approaches this mission with a sense of duty and moral certainty, yet McNeil portrays Russ as more than just a ruthless executioner. Russ respects Magnus as a fellow Primarch and even feels a sense of regret over the prospect of destroying Prospero. However, his loyalty to the Emperor and commitment to upholding the Imperium's laws supersede any personal reservations. The conflict between Russ and Magnus is emblematic of the larger ideological divide within the Imperium. While Magnus represents intellectual freedom and the pursuit of knowledge, Russ embodies the Emperor's authoritarian vision of unity through conformity. McNeil uses Russ to explore the consequences of this rigidity, as his actions in Prospero ultimately push Magnus and the Thousand Sons further into the arms of chaos. Russ's unwavering adherence to duty is both his strength and his flaw. His lack of flexibility prevents him from understanding Magnus's motivations, leading to a tragic misunderstanding that results in the destruction of Prospero. In the larger context of the Horus Heresy, Russ serves as a counterpoint to Magnus's tragic arc, representing the Imperium's unwillingness to accommodate difference and individuality. His role in the burning of Prospero is a catalyst for Magnus's transformation, and while Russ may view his actions as justified, McNeil portrays him as a figure of tragic irony, a character whose devotion to duty blinds him to the nuances of loyalty and morality. In addition to these three central figures, McNeil introduces a range of supporting characters who contribute to the novel's exploration of loyalty, ambition, and tragedy. Characters like Hathor Mart, Phocis Takar, and Ankuanan add depth to the Legion's internal conflicts, each representing different aspects of the thousandsons ethos. Hathor Mart's disdain for the physical limitations of mortality reflects the Legion's disdain for ignorance, while Phocis Takar's aggressive tendencies hint at the latent darkness within their psychic powers. McNeil also includes non-Astartes characters like Callista Eris, Camille Shivani, and Lemuel Goman, who serve as windows into the human perspective on the Thousand Sons tragedy. These characters, scholars, and remembrancers attached to the expedition are fascinated by the Thousand Sons' intellectual pursuits, yet horrified by the consequences of their actions. Their reactions to the Legion's downfall underscore the human cost of the Thousand Sons' quest for knowledge and provide readers with a relatable perspective on the events unfolding around them. In Asterisk, A Thousand Sons, Asterisk, Graham McNeil explores profound themes that resonate with classical tragedy, while also examining the implications of power, knowledge, and destiny in the grimdark universe of Warhammer 40,000 through symbolic elements, recurring motifs, and the ideological divide between characters. McNeil crafts a narrative that delves into the psychological and moral dimensions of the Thousand Sons' fate. One of the most prominent themes in Asterisk, A Thousand Sons, Asterisk, is the pursuit of forbidden knowledge, which serves as both a defining trait of the Thousand Sons Legion and the catalyst for their downfall. The Thousand Sons, led by Magnus the Red, are characterized by their insatiable curiosity and intellectual ambition. They view knowledge as a means of self-betterment and enlightenment, setting them apart from the other legions that rely primarily on physical prowess and martial discipline. The Thousand Sons' commitment to knowledge becomes their identity and purpose, especially in a universe that often prizes obedience over wisdom. McNeil uses the theme of forbidden knowledge to examine the tension between intellectual freedom and authoritarian control. For Magnus and his legion, knowledge is both a weapon and a shield, a way to protect themselves from the genetic mutation that threatens to consume them. Magnus's mastery of the warp and his belief that he alone can wield such power without succumbing to corruption is a central plot point, establishing him as both a visionary and a tragic figure, blinded by his own hubris. This theme is reinforced by the Edict of Nicaea, which bans the use of psychic powers throughout the Imperium. For Magnus, this decree is not merely a restriction, but a direct assault on his legion's identity and purpose. McNeil presents Magnus's defiance of the edict as both an act of desperation and intellectual pride, reflecting his belief that he knows better than the Emperor. The pursuit of forbidden knowledge thus becomes an existential struggle for the Thousand Sons, who are forced to choose between their loyalty to the Emperor and their loyalty to their own principles. Symbolically, Magnus's explorations of the warp represent humanity's ancient quest to understand the unknown, a theme that resonates with mythological figures like Prometheus or Faust. Like these tragic heroes, Magnus's desire for enlightenment ultimately leads him into conflict with forces greater than himself, resulting in the devastation of Prospero and the ruin of his legion. In the context of the Horus heresy, the theme of forbidden knowledge serves as a cautionary tale about the limits of human understanding and the dangers of overreaching ambition. Magnus the Red's journey is a classic example of the tragic hero's arc, rooted in his hubris, the belief that he can master forces beyond his control. Magnus's pride in his intellectual superiority and his conviction that he is uniquely capable of wielding the warp's power set him on a collision course with the Emperor's vision for humanity. Throughout the novel, Magnus's hubris blinds him to the warnings of his fellow Primarchs, the risks of the warp, and the potential consequences of defying the Emperor. McNeil employs hubris as a thematic device to underscore the inevitable nature of Magnus's fall. Despite his noble intentions, Magnus's tragic flaw leads him to disregard the boundaries set by the Emperor, viewing them as constraints rather than safeguards. This belief drives him to defy the Edict of Nicaea and continue his psychic studies in secret, convinced that he alone possesses the wisdom to control such power. His hubris reaches its peak when he attempts to warn the Emperor of Horus's impending betrayal, an act that inadvertently shatters the Emperor's trust in him and precipitates the burning of Prospero. In Asterisk, A Thousand Sons, Asterisk, hubris is depicted as a double-edged sword. While it allows Magnus to pursue his ideals with conviction, it also blinds him to his own limitations and the consequences of his actions. This theme resonates with readers as a reminder of the fine line between confidence and arrogance and the self-destructive potential of unchecked ambition. Magnus's journey thus serves as a timeless cautionary tale about the perils of hubris, mirroring the fate of mythological figures who overestimate their own abilities and suffer as a result. The theme of loyalty versus ambition is central to *1000sons*, as McNeill explores the complex relationship between Magnus's allegiance to the Emperor and his ambition to reshape humanity's understanding of the universe. For Magnus, loyalty to the Emperor is paramount, but his ambition to explore the warp and protect his legion often conflicts with the Emperor's vision for humanity. This ideological divide forms the basis of Magnus's internal struggle, as he attempts to reconcile his loyalty with his desire to achieve something greater. The Thousand Sons' ambition to push the boundaries of knowledge creates a tension with the Imperium's rigid adherence to tradition and conformity. This clash is embodied in the ideological conflict between Magnus and Leman Russ, who represents the Imperium's martial discipline and unquestioning loyalty. While Russ believes that loyalty to the Emperor requires absolute obedience, Magnus views loyalty as a form of trust, one that allows for the exploration of forbidden ideas in the service of humanity's progress. This ideological divide ultimately drives the two Primarchs into direct conflict, as Russ is tasked with enforcing the Emperor's will on Prospero. Ahriman's journey further reflects this theme, as he remains loyal to Magnus even when he begins to question the wisdom of their path. His commitment to the Thousand Sons' ideals of knowledge and enlightenment often puts him at odds with the Imperium, yet he is unwilling to abandon his Primarch or his legion. This tension between loyalty and ambition underscores the tragic irony of *1000sons*. Despite their devotion to the Emperor, the Thousand Sons are labelled as traitors, not for betraying the Imperium, but for refusing to compromise their principles. McNeill uses this theme to explore the moral ambiguity of loyalty, raising questions about the nature of obedience and the price of ambition. The phrase "all is dust," which becomes a haunting refrain throughout *1000sons*, serves as both a prophecy and a symbol of the Thousand Sons' tragic fate. This phrase foreshadows the Legion's eventual transformation into soulless, dust-bound entities following the catastrophic events of the burning of Prospero. It also symbolises the futility of their quest for knowledge and the impermanence of their achievements, suggesting that all of their efforts to master the warp and protect their Legion were ultimately in vain. The theme of fate permeates the novel, with Magnus and Ahriman both experiencing visions and prophecies that hint at the Legion's inevitable downfall. McNeill uses these prophetic elements to create a sense of tragic inevitability, as the Thousand Sons are repeatedly warned of the consequences of their actions, but choose to proceed regardless. Magnus's visions of the future are particularly poignant, as they reveal the consequences of his defiance yet fail to dissuade him from his path. This emphasis on fate underscores the novel's tragic arc, suggesting that the Thousand Sons were doomed from the moment they chose to pursue forbidden knowledge. The motif of dust also serves as a symbol of the Legion's transformation from enlightened scholars to exiled outcasts. Following the burning of Prospero and the rubric of Ahriman, the Thousand Sons are reduced to empty suits of armour, with only a few powerful sorcerers retaining their physical form. This transformation into dust represents the Legion's ultimate punishment for defying the Emperor, and serves as a grim reminder of the consequences of their ambition. McNeill's use of dust as a recurring symbol highlights the theme of impermanence and the fleeting nature of power, knowledge, and loyalty. Throughout *1000sons*, McNeill employs various symbols to represent the themes of knowledge and power, particularly in the form of the Great Library on Prospero and the Mountain on Agoru. The Great Library, an enormous repository of forbidden knowledge and arcane texts, symbolises the Thousand Sons' intellectual pursuits and their dedication to preserving humanity's wisdom. It is a place of learning and enlightenment, yet it also contains the seeds of the Legion's destruction, as its contents include knowledge of the warp and other forbidden arts. The Mountain on Agoru serves as a parallel symbol, representing both the allure and danger of knowledge. Its unnatural structure and powerful psychic energies draw Magnus and his warriors to investigate, despite the risks. The mountain's mysterious origins and connection to the warp serve as a reminder of the unknown forces lurking beyond humanity's comprehension, embodying the novel's theme of forbidden knowledge. In their pursuit of understanding, the Thousand Sons are metaphorically climbing the mountain, seeking enlightenment, but ultimately encountering forces beyond their control. McNeill's use of these symbols adds layers of meaning to the narrative, emphasizing the moral complexity of the Thousand Sons' quest for knowledge. Both the Great Library and the Mountain are places of enlightenment, yet they also contain the potential for corruption and destruction. These symbols serve as reminders of the inherent risks of intellectual ambition, reinforcing the novel's tragic themes and the heavy price of seeking power. The novel adopts a sophisticated narrative style to deliver the rich, tragic story of the Thousandsons Legion. His use of multiple perspectives, evocative prose, and a structured three-part division gives the novel a layered quality, allowing readers to witness the nuanced conflicts within the Legion, as well as the tragic inevitability of their fate. McNeil's storytelling is not just about recounting events. He brings readers deeply into the ideological, moral, and psychological struggles that define the characters, crafting a compelling narrative that resonates beyond the immediate context of Warhammer 40k. McNeil employs multiple perspectives throughout *A Thousand Sons*, giving readers insight into the viewpoints of various characters, including Magnus the Red, Azek Ahriman, Leman Russ, and other members of the Thousandsons Legion. This character-centric narration is instrumental in humanizing the Legion and conveying the diversity of thought within it. The novel is told primarily from the perspective of the Thousandsons themselves, allowing readers to understand their motivations, doubts, and aspirations. By shifting between perspectives, McNeil effectively illustrates the complexity of the Thousandsons' loyalty to Magnus and their conflicting emotions regarding their forbidden powers. Ahriman's perspective, in particular, provides readers with a close look at the ideological and ethical dilemmas facing the Legion. As Chief Librarian, Ahriman represents the Legion's intellectualism and its dedication to exploring the warp. His loyalty to Magnus is unwavering, yet he's often plagued by a sense of unease about the path they are following. Through Ahriman's eyes, readers experience the tension between loyalty and fear, ambition and caution, giving the narrative a layered sense of tragedy. This internal struggle becomes a focal point as the novel progresses, with Ahriman embodying the Legion's values while also bearing witness to their downfall. In contrast, Leman Russ's perspective offers a view into the Imperium's mistrust of the Thousandsons. Russ's loyalty to the Emperor and his unyielding stance against psychic powers provide a counterpoint to Magnus's philosophy. This juxtaposition not only reinforces the ideological divide within the Imperium, but also emphasizes the tragic irony of the Thousandsons' fate. Russ's perspective on loyalty, duty, and the use of power highlights the strict boundaries imposed by the Emperor, boundaries that Magnus ultimately defies. Through these contrasting perspectives, McNeil explores the moral ambiguity of the conflict, leaving readers to grapple with the question of whether the Thousandsons' punishment was justified. The pacing of *A Thousand Sons* is meticulously crafted to match the Legion's descent from scholarly pursuit to catastrophic ruin. The novel's tone begins as measured and intellectual, reflecting the Thousandsons' contemplative nature. McNeil takes time to establish the Legion's culture of learning and their respect for knowledge, creating an atmosphere of quiet reverence and curiosity. The early chapters on Agoru, where the Thousandsons are investigating the mysterious mountain, are deliberately paced, allowing readers to immerse themselves in the Legion's mindset and values. As the narrative progresses, however, the tone shifts to one of urgency and tension. The Edict of Nicaea serves as a turning point in the novel, accelerating the pace as Magnus's defiance places the Legion on a collision course with the Emperor. This sense of impending doom permeates the narrative, with each subsequent event building toward the inevitable tragedy of Prospero. McNeil uses this shift in tone to amplify the emotional weight of the Legion's fate, drawing readers into the psychological and moral turmoil of Magnus and his sons as they grapple with the consequences of their actions. The climax of the novel, the burning of Prospero, is written with a sense of brutal immediacy and chaos, contrasting sharply with the contemplative tone of the earlier chapters. The sudden violence and destruction reflect the culmination of the Thousandsons' struggle, highlighting the devastating consequences of their ambition. This tonal shift from intellectual exploration to tragic ruin mirrors the Legion's transformation and reinforces the novel's central themes of knowledge, hubris, and destiny. McNeil divides *A Thousand Sons* into three distinct parts, each representing a different stage in the Legion's journey and reinforcing the novel's tragic structure. This three-part division mirrors the classical structure of a tragedy, with each section building upon the previous one to create a sense of inevitability. The first part of the novel focuses on the Thousandsons' pursuit of knowledge and their initial encounters with the warp on Agoru. This section establishes the Legion's intellectualism, their respect for psychic powers, and their loyalty to Magnus's vision. The tone is contemplative, and McNeil takes time to explore the inner workings of the Legion, emphasizing their uniqueness and the admiration they hold for Magnus. This stage of discovery lays the groundwork for the tragedy to come, presenting readers with a sympathetic view of the Thousandsons and their motivations. The second part of the novel shifts to the conflict arising from the Edict of Nicaea, where the Emperor bans the use of psychic powers. This section serves as the novel's rising action, as Magnus's defiance of the Emperor's decree sets in motion the events leading to Prospero's downfall. McNeill uses this part of the narrative to explore the internal conflict within the Thousand Sons, as they wrestle with their loyalty to the Emperor and their commitment to knowledge. The tone becomes more urgent, reflecting the mounting tension as Magnus's actions bring the Legion closer to disaster. This section emphasizes the theme of hubris, with Magnus's refusal to abandon his psychic studies marking the point of no return. The final part of the novel is the tragic climax, depicting the burning of Prospero and the annihilation of the Thousand Sons. McNeill's prose becomes darker and more intense, capturing the chaos and brutality of the battle between the Space Wolves and the Thousand Sons. The destruction of Prospero represents the culmination of Magnus's tragic arc as he realizes the cost of his defiance. This section is written with a sense of finality, mirroring the irreversible consequences of Magnus's choices and the Legion's transformation into exiled pariahs. The tragic ruin of Prospero and the subsequent exile of the Thousand Sons serve as a grim conclusion, reinforcing the themes of fate and impermanence. By structuring the novel in this way, McNeill mirrors the progression of a classical tragedy, with each part building toward the inevitable destruction of the protagonist. The three-part structure allows readers to experience the Thousand Sons' journey from intellectual pursuit to tragic ruin, creating a narrative that is both emotionally resonant and thematically rich. McNeill's use of symbolic language and imagery enhances the novel's tragic themes and creates a vivid sense of atmosphere. The recurring phrase, "all is dust," serves as both a prophecy and a symbol of the Thousand Sons' fate, encapsulating the impermanence of their achievements and the futility of their quest for knowledge. This phrase haunts the narrative, reminding readers of the inevitable ruin awaiting the Legion. The imagery associated with the warp is also significant, as McNeill describes it as a realm of swirling, chaotic energies that defy human comprehension. The warp is portrayed as both a source of power and a dangerous force, representing the unknown and the uncontrollable aspects of the universe. The mountain on Agoru, with its unnatural structure and powerful psychic energies, serves as a physical manifestation of the warp's mysteries, symbolizing the allure and danger of forbidden knowledge. Additionally, McNeill's descriptions of Prospero, the Thousand Sons' homeworld, emphasize its beauty and grandeur, creating a stark contrast with the devastation it suffers during the burning of Prospero. The City of Light, with its gleaming towers and vast libraries, symbolizes the Legion's commitment to enlightenment and knowledge, making its destruction all the more tragic. The imagery of fire and ruin that accompanies the burning of Prospero reinforces the novel's themes of hubris and the irreversible consequences of defying fate. McNeill weaves foreshadowing and prophecy throughout Asterisk, A Thousand Sons, Asterisk, creating a sense of tragic inevitability that heightens the emotional impact of the story. Magnus's visions of the future and his knowledge of the impending conflict with the Space Wolves serve as ominous hints of the Legion's fate. These prophetic elements add depth to the narrative, as readers are aware of the consequences long before the characters are forced to confront them. This use of foreshadowing reinforces the novel's theme of fate, suggesting that the Thousand Sons were always destined for ruin, despite their best efforts to escape it. McNeill's use of prophecy also reflects the Legion's reliance on psychic powers, with many of the Thousand Sons believing that they can foresee and shape the future. However, the ultimate failure of these visions underscores the limitations of their power and the futility of attempting to alter fate. By incorporating prophecy and foreshadowing into the narrative, McNeill emphasizes the tragic irony of the Thousand Sons' downfall, as their desire to control the future ultimately leads to their destruction. The Horus Heresy series, an epic saga within the Warhammer 40,000 universe, chronicles the cataclysmic civil war that forever altered the fate of humanity. Beginning with the Emperor's Great Crusade to reunite humanity under the Imperium, the series tracks the seeds of betrayal that culminate in the conflict between the Loyalist forces and the traitor legions led by Warmaster Horus. A Thousand Sons, as the 12th novel in the series, delves into the origins of the Thousand Sons Legion's tragic downfall, shedding light on the complex motivations and tragic missteps of Magnus the Red and his legion. In the Warhammer 40,000 universe, the Thousand Sons are remembered as a cursed and tragic legion, their names synonymous with knowledge corrupted by ambition. A Thousand Sons is integral to understanding how this legion, once known for its dedication to enlightenment, became exiled and doomed to an existence as mindless automatons bound within their armor. By exploring the origins of the Thousand Sons' downfall, McNeill provides context for their role in the greater Warhammer lore and highlights the lasting consequences of their defiance. The Thousand Sons are distinct from other legions due to their psychic abilities and intellectual pursuits, which set them apart in a universe that often views such talents with suspicion. In A Thousand Sons, McNeill emphasizes the Legion's unique place within the Imperium, portraying them as scholars, mystics, and philosophers rather than mere warriors. However, the novel also demonstrates how this distinctiveness isolates the Thousand Sons, ultimately leading to their persecution and exile. This exploration of the Legion's fate resonates deeply within the Warhammer 40,000 universe, where the Thousand Sons are remembered as a cautionary tale of the dangers of forbidden knowledge. A Thousand Sons serves as a companion piece to Prospero Burns by Dan Abnett, another novel in the Horus Heresy series that recounts the burning of Prospero from the perspective of the Space Wolves Legion. Where A Thousand Sons presents the Thousand Sons side of the conflict, Prospero Burns offers a contrasting view, focusing on the motivations and mindset of Leman Russ and his warriors. Together, these two novels provide a multifaceted view of the tragedy, depicting both Legion's beliefs, loyalties, and justifications for their actions. While A Thousand Sons portrays Magnus's defiance as a result of intellectual pride and a desire to protect his legion, Prospero Burns emphasizes the Space Wolves' role as enforcers of the Emperor's will. This dual perspective highlights the moral ambiguity of the conflict, showing how both legions believed they were acting in the Emperor's best interests. By reading both novels, readers gain a deeper understanding of the ideological divide within the Imperium and the tragic misunderstanding that led to the burning of Prospero. The duality of these narratives also serves to emphasize the tragic nature of the conflict. Magnus's intentions, while flawed, are rooted in loyalty and love for his sons, whereas Russ's actions stem from his unwavering commitment to the Emperor's law. This clash of ideals underscores the broader themes of loyalty, ambition, and the consequences of rigid adherence to doctrine within the Horus Heresy series. Together, A Thousand Sons and Prospero Burns present a comprehensive and nuanced portrayal of the Thousand Sons' fall from grace, allowing readers to empathize with both sides of the conflict. One of the pivotal events in A Thousand Sons is the Edict of Nicaea, the decree that bans the use of psychic powers among the legions. This decree is not only a turning point for the Thousand Sons, but also a critical moment in the larger narrative of the Horus Heresy. The Edict of Nicaea reflects the Emperor's growing concern over the dangers of the warp and his attempt to control its influence within the Imperium. However, this decree ultimately sows the seeds of resentment and rebellion among those who feel alienated by the Imperium's rigidity, contributing to the ideological fractures that drive the Horus Heresy. McNeill portrays the Edict of Nicaea as a moment of betrayal for the Thousand Sons, who view their psychic abilities as a defining aspect of their identity. The decree exacerbates the tensions between the loyalist and traitor factions, as it forces Magnus and his legion to choose between obedience to the Emperor and their pursuit of knowledge. This ideological rift mirrors the broader divide within the Imperium, where the Emperor's authoritarian rule clashes with the individual beliefs and ambitions of the Primarchs. By depicting the Edict of Nicaea as a catalyst for the Thousand Sons rebellion, McNeill highlights the role of ideological conflict in the Horus Heresy and foreshadows the broader war that will engulf the Imperium. The Edict of Nicaea is significant not only for its impact on the Thousand Sons, but also for its implications for the other legions. The ban on psychic powers reflects the Imperium's fear of the unknown and its reliance on conformity to maintain control. This restriction ultimately pushes Magnus to make a fateful decision, to defy the Emperor and continue his studies in secret, believing that his understanding of the warp is essential for the future of humanity. This defiance, rooted in a desire to protect his sons and further the Imperium's goals, sets in motion the tragic events that lead to the burning of Prospero and the eventual alliance of the Thousand Sons with the Chaos Gods. The burning of Prospero is one of the most significant events in the Horus Heresy series, marking the point at which Magnus and his legion are cast out from the Imperium. This cataclysmic event not only symbolizes the fall of the Thousand Sons, but also represents the consequences of the Emperor's uncompromising vision for humanity. McNeill's depiction of the burning of Prospero captures the devastation and psychological impact of this moment, portraying it as a defining tragedy that cements the Thousand Sons' place as exiled outcasts within the Warhammer 40k universe. The burning of Prospero serves as a turning point in the Horus Heresy, as it illustrates the Emperor's willingness to sacrifice even his own sons to maintain control over the Imperium. This brutal act of suppression reveals the authoritarian nature of the Imperium and its intolerance of deviation, reinforcing the theme of loyalty versus ambition that runs throughout the series. By ordering the Space Wolves to destroy Prospero, the Emperor alienates Magnus and his legion, pushing them toward the forces of chaos in their desperation to survive. This event underscores the tragic irony of the Thousand Sons' fate. Despite their loyalty to the Emperor, they are forced into exile for their refusal to abandon their beliefs. In the broader context of the Horus Heresy, the burning of Prospero foreshadows the conflict between the loyalist and traitor legions, as it demonstrates the Imperium's willingness to enforce its laws through violence. The destruction of Prospero is a stark reminder of the cost of defying the Emperor's will, illustrating the brutal measures the Imperium is willing to take to maintain unity. This event also serves as a prelude to the larger conflicts that will engulf the galaxy during the Horus Heresy, highlighting the consequences of the Emperor's authoritarian rule and the ideological fractures that will ultimately tear the Imperium apart. In the aftermath of the burning of Prospero, A Thousand Suns foreshadows the future of the Thousandsons Legion and the creation of the Rubric of Ahriman. The Rubric, a spell cast by Ahriman in an attempt to halt the physical degeneration of his fellow Thousandsons, ultimately transforms the Legion into dust-bound, soulless entities. This transformation is a direct consequence of the Legion's exploration of the warp and their reliance on psychic powers, reflecting the theme of forbidden knowledge and its corruptive influence. McNeil's portrayal of Ahriman's loyalty and ambition in A Thousand Suns foreshadows his eventual transformation into one of the most infamous characters in the Warhammer 40k universe. As the chief librarian, Ahriman embodies the Thousand Suns' commitment to knowledge and their willingness to defy the Emperor's edicts. However, his decision to cast the Rubric will ultimately curse the Legion to a fate of eternal exile, turning them into spectral warriors devoid of identity. This transformation is symbolic of the Thousand Suns' fall from grace, as their quest for enlightenment leads them to a tragic and irreversible fate. The Rubric of Ahriman also serves as a metaphor for the consequences of ambition and the dangers of seeking power without considering the costs. In the Warhammer 40k universe, the Thousand Suns are remembered as a tragic cautionary tale, their once noble ideals corrupted by their defiance of the Emperor's laws. The Rubric cements their legacy as a legion, condemned to wander the galaxy as hollow shells, a reminder of the high price of knowledge and the futility of defying fate. By foreshadowing the Rubric of Ahriman, McNeil connects the events of A Thousand Suns to the broader Warhammer 40k lore, highlighting the lasting impact of the Thousand Suns' choices on their place in the galaxy. Graham McNeil's Asterisk, A Thousand Suns. Asterisk is widely regarded as one of the most memorable and thought-provoking entries in the Horus Heresy series. Its appeal lies in its nuanced portrayal of the Thousand Suns Legion, a group that seeks knowledge and enlightenment but faces ruin due to their forbidden pursuits. Through its richly detailed narrative, McNeil brings the world of Prospero and the tragedy of Magnus the Red to life, providing readers with a gripping and emotional account of loyalty, ambition, and the irreversible consequences of defying the Emperor. One of the novel's standout strengths is its deep characterization, particularly of Magnus the Red and Azek Ahriman. McNeil takes care to portray Magnus not merely as a rebellious figure, but as a Primarch, driven by a genuine love for his sons and a desire to protect humanity through the use of psychic powers. His motivations are noble, and his descent into tragedy is as much a result of his virtues as it is of his flaws. This nuanced portrayal elevates Magnus from a straightforward fallen hero to a deeply tragic character who, despite his best intentions, is doomed by his own hubris. Ahriman, too, is a richly complex character. His loyalty to Magnus and dedication to the pursuit of knowledge make him sympathetic, even as his ambition leads to dark decisions. The development of Ahriman's character and his internal conflict as he witnesses the Legion's downfall provide a compelling lens through which readers experience the events of the story. McNeil's ability to humanize these larger-than-life figures is a testament to his skill as a writer, as it allows readers to understand and empathize with the Legion's motivations, even when they lead to destructive consequences. The world-building in Asterisk, A Thousand Suns, Asterisk is another highlight, particularly McNeil's depiction of Prospero. The City of Light, with its grand libraries, imposing temples, and dedication to intellectual pursuits, is brought to life in vivid detail. McNeil's descriptions of Prospero emphasize its beauty, sophistication, and cultural achievements, creating a sharp contrast with the brutal destruction that befalls it during the burning of Prospero. This contrast heightens the emotional impact of the story, as readers witness the tragic loss of a world that had once symbolized enlightenment and progress. McNeil's portrayal of the warp and its dangers is equally compelling. He conveys the mysterious, alluring, and terrifying nature of the warp in a way that captures both its potential and its inherent risks. The Thousand Suns' interactions with the warp are fraught with tension and a sense of impending doom, underscoring the novel's themes of forbidden knowledge and the high cost of ambition. The mountain on Agoru and the Great Library serve as symbols of the Legion's quest for understanding, further enriching the setting and imbuing the story with an atmosphere of mysticism and danger. Asterisk, A Thousand Suns. Asterisk excels in its exploration of complex themes, including the pursuit of forbidden knowledge, loyalty versus ambition, and the consequences of hubris. McNeill avoids simplistic portrayals of right and wrong, instead presenting the Thousand Sons' actions as morally ambiguous. Magnus's defiance of the Emperor's edict is depicted as both a noble attempt to protect his legion and a tragic act of hubris, while Lehman Russ's attack on Prospero is portrayed as both a justified enforcement of the Emperor's will and a brutal suppression of a unique culture. The novel's thematic depth encourages readers to consider the ethical implications of the characters' choices and to question whether the Thousand Sons' fate was deserved. McNeill's portrayal of the Legion as both victims and agents of their own downfall adds a layer of tragic irony to the story, emphasizing the complexity of their loyalty to the Emperor and their commitment to their own ideals. One potential critique of Asterisk, A Thousand Sons, Asterisk, is the density of its narrative, which can be challenging for readers unfamiliar with the Warhammer 40,000 universe or the Horus Heresy series. McNeill incorporates a significant amount of lore, terminology, and references to events beyond the scope of the novel, which may be overwhelming for new readers. The intricate details of the Thousand Sons' culture, psychic abilities, and ideological beliefs are integral to the story, but can be difficult to fully grasp without a prior understanding of the setting. For fans of the series, this complexity is likely a strength as it adds depth and authenticity to the narrative. However, for newcomers, the sheer volume of information can detract from the story's accessibility. A glossary or additional context on the lore might have enhanced the reading experience for those less familiar with the Warhammer 40k universe. The pacing of Asterisk, A Thousand Sons. Asterisk is deliberate, with McNeill dedicating significant time to establishing the Legion's culture and exploring their philosophical conflict. While this approach adds to the thematic richness of the novel, it also results in a slower pace, particularly in the first half. Some readers may find the build-up to the burning of Prospero to be prolonged, as McNeill delves into detailed discussions of psychic powers, ideologies, and the warp. The novel's length could be a drawback for those looking for a more action-driven narrative. Although the final act delivers a powerful climax, the slower pacing in the earlier chapters may test the patience of readers who prefer a faster tempo. This pacing, however, is ultimately a trade-off. The slower build-up allows McNeill to fully explore the motivations of the Thousand Sons, enhancing the emotional impact of the story's conclusion. While Asterisk, A Thousand Sons, Asterisk excels in its portrayal of Magnus, Ahriman, and Lehman Russ, some secondary characters receive comparatively less development. Characters like Hathor, Mart, Phocis, Takar, and Ankuanen are introduced with distinct personalities and beliefs, but they are not as deeply explored as the central figures. These secondary characters have the potential to add further layers to the Legion's ideological diversity, yet their roles remain relatively limited in the narrative. Given the novel's focus on Magnus and Ahriman, this limited exploration of secondary characters is understandable. However, a more detailed examination of these characters could have provided additional insight into the Legion's internal conflicts and further illustrated the Thousand Sons' cultural richness. While McNeill hints at the diversity within the Legion, these secondary characters could have been given more narrative space to explore their unique perspectives on the Thousand Sons' fate. Despite these minor critiques, Asterisk, A Thousand Sons, Asterisk stands out as a masterful and emotionally resonant entry in the Horus Heresy series. McNeill's nuanced characterization, immersive world-building, and exploration of tragic themes elevate the novel beyond a straightforward science fiction story, transforming it into a reflection on the price of ambition, the limits of loyalty, and the moral complexities of power. By delving deeply into the motivations and flaws of the Thousand Sons, McNeill invites readers to empathize with a legion that, despite their best intentions, is fated to suffer for their defiance. Asterisk, A Thousand Sons. Asterisk offers a profound exploration of humanity's quest for knowledge and the dangers inherent in that pursuit. Through Magnus the Red and his legion, McNeill raises questions about the value of intellectual freedom, the boundaries of loyalty, and the consequences of overreaching ambition. In the end, the Thousand Sons' fall from grace serves as a reminder of the tragic potential of humanity's greatest strengths, its curiosity, intellect, and drive to understand the unknown. For fans of Warhammer 40k and new readers alike, Asterisk, A Thousand Sons. Asterisk is a powerful and unforgettable tale that exemplifies the thematic richness and narrative depth of the Horus Heresy series. *Galaxyinflames*, the third installment of the Horus Heresy series, marks a decisive turning point in the saga, chronicling the moment when Horus's transformation from loyal warmaster to outright traitor becomes irreversible. The novel delivers a deeply tragic narrative, focusing on Horus's betrayal, the Istvan III atrocity, and the massacre of loyalist space marines, an event that ignites the galaxy-spanning civil war known as the Horus Heresy. The novel opens in the aftermath of the events in Horus, Rising and False Gods where Horus, once the Emperor's most trusted Primarch, has been corrupted by the Chaos Gods. No longer committed to the Emperor's vision, Horus now believes he must overthrow his father to prevent what he perceives as humanity's enslavement. Horus's motivations are not purely selfish. He rationalizes his actions as a necessary step to free humanity from the Emperor's tyranny, though he is now deeply influenced by the powers of chaos, who subtly manipulate his worldview. Ben Counter takes time to build the atmosphere around Horus's change in mindset, showing how his interactions with his closest advisors, including Erebus, Malakhurst, and the Primarchs Angron and Fulgrim, reinforce his growing resentment toward the Emperor. Counter emphasizes the gradual erosion of Horus's loyalty, contrasting the Warmaster's former nobility with the manipulations of chaos that cloud his judgment. The ideological shift within Horus is not immediately apparent to all. Loyalists within his ranks, like Garviel Loken, remain hopeful that their Primarch will eventually return to his senses. But Horus's inner circle of traitor advisors and corrupted allies, including Abaddon and the increasingly erratic Eidolon of the Emperor's children, help solidify his commitment to rebellion. This opening section establishes a sense of dread as readers witness the chilling transformation of a once great leader into a calculating orchestrator of betrayal. The turning point in *Galaxyinflames* occurs with the Istvan III campaign, a brutal gambit crafted by Horus to cleanse his ranks of loyalists who might resist his plans. Istvan III, a system believed to be in rebellion against the Imperium, becomes the staging ground for Horus's treachery. Under the guise of suppressing a rebellion, Horus mobilizes several legions, including the Lunar Wolves, soon to be renamed the Sons of Horus, World Eaters, Death Guard, and Emperor's Children, and orders them to deploy loyalist Astartes alongside newly corrupted warriors to the planet's surface. This campaign is designed as a test of loyalty, with the objective of isolating and eliminating any space marines who remain loyal to the Emperor. By placing loyalists and potential traitors side by side, Horus seeks to determine who will ultimately support his cause and who must be purged. This manipulation is Horus's way of ensuring that only those fully committed to his rebellion remain within his forces. Counter expertly builds the tension as the loyalist forces descend onto Istvan III, blissfully unaware of the trap that awaits them. Characters like Garviel Loken, Saul Tarvitz, and Nathaniel Garrow are painted with a sense of honor and dedication, creating a stark contrast with the manipulative, corrupted characters within Horus's circle. The horror of Horus's betrayal begins to dawn on the loyalists as they start to question strange orders and witness increasingly erratic behavior from their comrades. Their confusion and growing dread underscore the scale of the betrayal about to unfold. The climax of Horus's treachery occurs with the unleashing of virus bombs on Istvan III, a nightmarish act of mass extermination intended to wipe out all life on the planet's surface. Horus orders the bombardment, knowing that the loyalist space marines stationed there will have no chance of survival. The virus bombs spread a horrific plague that quickly annihilates organic life, liquefying flesh and leaving behind only charred, toxic remains. Counter's descriptions of the virus bombing are both vivid and harrowing, capturing the sheer brutality of this act. The virus itself is depicted as a silent, invisible killer, spreading death in an instant, while the loyalists, who had moments before been fighting for the Emperor, find themselves abandoned and betrayed. The realization among the loyalists that their Primarch has betrayed them is crushing. Characters like Loken and Tarvitz are horrified as they grasp the full extent of Horus's cruelty. Amid the devastation, a handful of loyalists manage to survive by taking refuge in sealed shelters and underground bunkers, including the stoic Garviel Loken and the brave Saul Tarvitz. Tarvitz's role becomes particularly crucial as he quickly mobilizes the survivors, urging them to regroup and prepare for a final stand against Horus's traitor forces. This act of resistance in the face of impossible odds highlights the courage and resilience of the loyalists, painting them as tragic heroes who refuse to surrender their honor even when faced with overwhelming betrayal. The survivors of the virus bombing rally within the Coral City, a fortified stronghold that becomes the staging ground for a desperate resistance. Tarvitz and Loken, alongside other loyalists, prepare to hold their position against the traitor forces descending upon them. Counter meticulously details the loyalist preparations, portraying the grim determination of these warriors who know they are fighting a losing battle but refuse to yield. The battle for the Coral City is one of the novel's most intense and tragic sequences. Counter's prose captures the raw brutality of the conflict as brother fights brother in a savage and merciless confrontation. The Loyalists, vastly outnumbered and outgunned, rely on guerrilla tactics, tenacity, and sheer resolve to fend off the traitor legions. Each clash is a reminder of the brotherhood that once united them, now shattered by Horus's ambition. Within the Emperor's children, the once proud warriors are now twisted by the influence of chaos. Characters like Lucius revel in the violence, displaying a disturbing enthusiasm for slaughter that underscores the moral decay within Horus's forces. Counter contrasts this with the honour and nobility displayed by Tarvitz, Loken, and their allies, who fight not out of hatred but out of a commitment to the ideals they once swore to protect. This juxtaposition reinforces the themes of corruption and loyalty, painting the Loyalists as tragic heroes standing against the overwhelming tide of darkness. As the battle progresses, the Loyalist situation becomes increasingly desperate. Despite their courage and resilience, the traitor forces gradually wear them down, leading to devastating losses among the Loyalist ranks. The emotional toll of this betrayal is palpable, as the Loyalists witness the desecration of everything they once held sacred. The realization that their brothers have abandoned the Emperor and turned against them adds a layer of tragedy to the conflict, as they fight not only for survival, but also for the honor of the Imperium. Counter's portrayal of the Loyalists' final stand is both poignant and gut-wrenching. The Coral City, once a symbol of the Imperium's strength, is reduced to rubble, and the Loyalist forces are pushed to the brink of annihilation. Loken, Tarvitz, and their allies make a last-ditch effort to repel the invaders, knowing full well that their resistance is ultimately futile. Their willingness to sacrifice everything in the face of betrayal exemplifies the tragic nobility of their character, casting them as martyrs for the Emperor's cause. In the climactic moments of the battle, Loken confronts Abaddon, his former brother, in a brutal showdown that symbolizes the complete breakdown of brotherhood within the Legion. Abaddon, fully embracing his role as a servant of chaos, taunts Loken and mocks his loyalty to the Emperor. The fight between Loken and Abaddon serves as the culmination of the ideological conflict at the heart of the Horus heresy, as Loken represents the loyalist ideal, while Abaddon embodies the twisted ambition of the traitors. The final clash ends in tragedy as Loken is ultimately overwhelmed, symbolizing the defeat of honor and loyalty in the face of corruption. The novel concludes with the utter decimation of the loyalist forces on Istvan III. Those who managed to survive the initial virus bombing and subsequent battles are ultimately crushed by the relentless assault of Horus's forces. The Loyalist stand on Istvan III serves as a powerful and heartbreaking reminder of the high cost of loyalty and the devastating impact of betrayal. Counter leaves readers with a haunting image of a galaxy plunged into civil war as the Horus heresy officially begins. This conclusion marks the point of no return for Horus and his traitor legions. Having purged his ranks of loyalists, Horus is now fully committed to his rebellion, ready to unleash chaos across the galaxy in his quest to overthrow the Emperor. The massacre at Istvan III is a tragic prologue to the larger war that will engulf the Imperium, symbolizing the irrevocable fracture within the Astartes legions and the beginning of a dark age for humanity. *Galaxyinflames* features a large ensemble of characters, but it focuses on a few key individuals whose perspectives drive the narrative. Each character embodies a different facet of the ideological conflict within the Horus heresy. This section will examine the internal struggles, motivations, and transformations of the major figures. At the heart of *Galaxyinflames* lies Horus Lupercal, Primarch of the Lunar Wolves and the Emperor's chosen Warmaster. Horus's descent into betrayal is both tragic and inevitable, his once noble intentions now corrupted by the forces of chaos. In this novel, Horus's full transformation into the antagonist of the Horus Heresy series becomes apparent as his charisma and leadership are turned toward rebellion, not out of mere ambition, but because he truly believes he can rule the galaxy better than his father. In earlier books of the series, Horus was presented as a figure of immense capability and wisdom, beloved by his brothers and admired by his legion. However, *Galaxyinflames* illustrates the final stages of his fall, showcasing the horrifying extent of his corruption. Horus's motivations are nuanced. He believes the Emperor has betrayed him by elevating himself above the Primarchs, seeing this as the beginning of a tyrannical rule that will enslave humanity. This belief, combined with the manipulations of the Chaos Gods, leads Horus to rationalize his rebellion as a noble cause, casting himself as a savior rather than a traitor. Ben Counter's portrayal of Horus's character focuses on the psychological complexity of a leader who has lost his moral compass. Horus is no longer conflicted about his betrayal, having fully embraced the path of rebellion. The contrast between the Horus of old, noble, wise, and protective of his brothers, and the Horus of *Galaxyinflames, manipulative, calculating, and ruthless, is stark. His decision to eliminate the loyalist elements of his legion through the virus bombing of Istvan III is a defining moment of cold-blooded treachery, demonstrating his willingness to sacrifice even those who have served him faithfully if it ensures the success of his rebellion. Horus's character arc in this novel serves as a tragic embodiment of hubris and corruption. Once revered as the Emperor's most favoured son, his descent into darkness is a result of his own pride, ambition, and the subtle manipulation of the Chaos Gods. Counter presents Horus as a fallen hero, a figure whose greatness has been turned toward evil, making his betrayal all the more devastating for those who once followed him. His fall marks the shattering of the Brotherhood among the Primarchs and signals the beginning of a civil war that will engulf the galaxy. Garviel Loken, captain of the Lunar Wolves' 10th Company, is the moral compass of the novel and one of the most compelling characters in *Galaxyinflames*. Loken's journey throughout the Horus Heresy series has been one of gradual disillusionment as he has grown increasingly concerned about Horus's changing demeanour and the growing influence of darker forces within the Legion. By the time *Galaxyinflames* begins, Loken's suspicions have solidified into certainty. He knows that something is terribly wrong, but he struggles to reconcile this with his deep loyalty to Horus. Loken is portrayed as the archetypal loyalist space marine, embodying the honour, discipline, and commitment to the Emperor that defines the Astartes. However, unlike some of his more fanatical peers, Loken is thoughtful, reflective, and open to questioning the decisions of his superiors. This makes him a natural skeptic of Horus's increasingly unorthodox behaviour, and his unease grows as he witnesses the growing divisions within the Legion. As the events of the Istvan III campaign unfold, Loken's worst fears are realised. The virus bombing is a moment of profound betrayal for him, and it cements his role as a defender of the Emperor's ideals. Loken's leadership and bravery during the Loyalist resistance in the Coral City are a testament to his character. Despite the overwhelming odds, Loken remains resolute, rallying the survivors and leading them in a desperate stand against their former brothers. His confrontation with Abaddon in the novel's climax is a powerful symbol of the ideological rift that has torn the Legion apart. Loken, representing honour and loyalty, versus Abaddon, who has embraced the path of corruption and ambition. Loken's characterization is central to the emotional impact of the novel. He is a tragic figure, a man who has given everything for the Legion, only to be betrayed by the very leader he once revered. His unwavering commitment to doing what is right, even in the face of death, makes him one of the most sympathetic and heroic characters in the series. Loken's fall, both physically and metaphorically, represents the collapse of the Lunar Wolves as a force for good and the ascension of the Sons of Horus as agents of chaos. Saul Tarvitz of the Emperor's Children is another key figure in *Galaxyinflames*, and his role as a loyalist leader during the Istvan III massacre elevates him to the status of a tragic hero. Tarvitz is a character defined by his loyalty, pragmatism, and resourcefulness, qualities that make him stand out in a Legion increasingly dominated by the excesses and depravity of its Primarch, Fulgrim. Unlike many of his peers, who have become enthralled by the pursuit of perfection to the point of madness, Tarvitz remains grounded, focused on his duty to the Emperor and his fellow Astartes. Tarvitz's role in the novel is critical to the survival of the Loyalist forces on Istvan III. He is one of the first to realise the full extent of Horus's betrayal and takes decisive action to warn the Loyalists, helping them find refuge from the virus bombing. His quick thinking and leadership enable the survivors to regroup and organise a resistance, making him one of the few Loyalists who is able to maintain some semblance of order in the chaos. Throughout the novel, Tarvitz is portrayed as a selfless leader who puts the well-being of his brothers above his own safety. His heroism is not marked by grand gestures or flamboyant displays of power, but by his quiet determination to do what is right. He lacks the arrogance and ambition that characterize many of his fellow emperors' children, which makes his eventual fate all the more tragic. Tarvitz's resistance on Istvan III is a desperate fight for survival, and his death, while inevitable, is portrayed as a noble sacrifice for the Emperor's cause. Counter's depiction of Tarvitz highlights the tragic irony of the Horus heresy. In a legion obsessed with perfection, it is Tarvitz, the unassuming, practical, and humble warrior, who proves to be its true hero. His death at the hands of his own brothers reflects the senselessness of the civil war, and his story serves as a poignant reminder of the cost of loyalty in a galaxy torn apart by ambition and corruption. Though Nathaniel Garrow plays a more prominent role in the novel Flight of the Eisenstein Asterisk, his presence in Galaxy in Flames is significant as one of the few loyalist leaders to witness the full scope of Horus's betrayal and survive. A captain of the Death Guard, Garrow is deeply loyal to the Emperor, but his loyalty is tested as he begins to notice strange behaviour among his legion's leadership, particularly Mortarion, his Primarch. Garrow's experience on Istvan III mirrors that of Loken and Tarvitz, but he occupies a unique position as an outsider among the Loyalists, often reflecting on the nature of loyalty and the difficulty of choosing between one's legion and the Emperor. His survival and subsequent escape from the massacre will play a pivotal role in alerting the Imperium to the growing rebellion, making him a vital link between the Loyalist resistance on Istvan III and the broader scope of the Horus heresy. In *Galaxy-in-Flames*, Garrow's character is less central to the plot, but his presence adds another layer to the portrayal of Loyalist resistance, emphasizing the diversity of thought and action among those who remain true to the Emperor. Garrow's actions serve as a precursor to his later role in the Horus heresy, where he will emerge as a key figure in rallying Loyalist forces to the Emperor's side. Ezekal Abaddon, first captain of the Sons of Horus, formerly the Lunar Wolves, serves as the embodiment of the Legion's descent into treachery and corruption. Abaddon's transformation in *Galaxy-in-Flames* is stark. Once a proud and honourable warrior, he has now fully embraced Horus's rebellion and the dark path it represents. Abaddon's character is marked by his unwavering loyalty to Horus, but this loyalty is no longer rooted in respect for the Emperor's ideals. Instead, it has morphed into a fanatical devotion to Horus's vision of a new order, one in which the Primarchs rule without the Emperor's oversight. Abaddon is portrayed as a ruthless and aggressive leader, willing to go to any lengths to ensure the success of Horus's plans. His confrontation with Garvio Loken is one of the novel's key moments, symbolizing the ideological split within the Legion. Abaddon views Loken's loyalty to the Emperor as a weakness, a relic of a past that no longer holds any relevance in Horus's new order. This confrontation represents the complete breakdown of the bonds that once united the Lunar Wolves, as Abaddon fully embraces his role as the champion of the traitor cause. Counter's portrayal of Abaddon in *Galaxy-in-Flames* sets the stage for his later role in the Warhammer 40k universe, where he becomes the leader of the Black Legion and one of the most infamous characters in the setting. His cold, calculating demeanour and his willingness to sacrifice anything and anyone for Horus's cause make him a formidable antagonist, and his growing hatred for the Emperor's loyalists foreshadows the terrible events that will unfold throughout the Horus heresy. Lucius, the Emperor's children's gifted swordsman, is one of the most disturbing characters in *Galaxy-in-Flames*, embodying the theme of corruption through pride and vanity. Lucius' descent into madness is reflective of the broader moral collapse within the Emperor's children as they fall under the sway of chaos. In the novel, Lucius is portrayed as a character driven by an obsessive need for perfection, particularly in combat. His ego and pride make him increasingly susceptible to the darker influences within his legion, and by the time of the Istvan III massacre, Lucius has fully embraced his darker impulses. Lucius' betrayal of Saul Tarvitz, a fellow Emperor's children loyalist, is one of the novel's most shocking moments. In an act of pure vanity and jealousy, Lucius turns on Tarvitz, convinced that his own prowess and perfection justify any action, even treachery. This moment highlights the insidious nature of Chaos's influence, as Lucius's desire for recognition and perfection leads him to commit atrocities against his own brothers. Counter's depiction of Lucius is unsettling, as he becomes a symbol of the Emperor's children's fall from grace. Lucius' willingness to betray his comrades for personal glory reflects the larger theme of how pride and ambition can corrupt even the most skilled and respected warriors. Lucius's journey in *Galaxy-in-Flames* foreshadows his transformation into Lucius the Eternal, a champion of Slaanesh and one of the most infamous characters in Warhammer 40k lore. Though Fulgrim, Primarch of the Emperor's children, plays a more central role in the novel Fulgrim*, his presence in *Galaxy-in-Flames* is critical to understanding the broader theme of corruption among the traitor Primarchs. Fulgrim, once a paragon of beauty, discipline, and perfection, has been deeply corrupted by the forces of Slaanesh, the chaos god of excess and decadence. His legion, the Emperor's children, reflects his own descent into madness, as they abandon their noble ideals in favour of sadistic pleasure and self-indulgence. Fulgrim's influence on characters like Eidolon and Lucius underscores the insidious nature of chaos, as even the most revered and disciplined warriors can fall prey to temptation. Fulgrim's transformation into a willing servant of chaos serves as a cautionary tale within the Horus heresy, highlighting the dangers of unchecked ambition and the pursuit of perfection at any cost. *Galaxy-in-Flames* is a novel heavy with tragic themes, focusing on betrayal, corruption, the fall of ideals, and the collapse of brotherhood. Ben Counter employs various symbols and recurring motifs throughout the narrative to explore these concepts in greater depth. The story operates on multiple levels, as an action-packed tale of civil war, a character-driven tragedy and a philosophical meditation on loyalty, ambition, and the consequences of power unchecked. This section will dive into how these themes and symbols are used to enhance the impact of the story. At the heart of Asterisk, Galaxy in Flames, Asterisk is the theme of betrayal, which manifests on both personal and grand scales. The entire plot revolves around Horus's treachery against the Emperor, but the emotional core of the novel focuses on the more intimate betrayal between brothers in arms. The Space Marines, who once stood as paragons of loyalty and unity, find themselves divided, forced to turn their weapons on one another. This betrayal is not simply a matter of ideological difference, but a profound shattering of the bonds of brotherhood that once defined the legions. The novel repeatedly emphasizes the depth of these bonds, particularly through characters like Garviel Loken and Saul Tarvitz, who remain loyal to the Emperor. Their sense of betrayal is visceral and personal. They cannot comprehend how Horus, once a beloved leader, could orchestrate such a monstrous act as the virus bombing of Istvan III. The scenes of loyalists fighting against their former brothers are laced with tragedy, as the Space Marines, who were designed to be the Emperor's ultimate warriors, are now pitted against each other in a senseless civil war. Ben Counter illustrates the profound sense of loss that accompanies this betrayal through poignant moments of reflection among the loyalists. Garviel Loken, for instance, often reflects on the ideals that once united the Lunar Wolves and the sense of camaraderie they shared. His confrontation with Abaddon, another of Horus's former loyal captains, highlights the stark contrast between the old Brotherhood and the new Order of Chaos. Abaddon's willingness to embrace Horus's betrayal and Loken's refusal to turn against the Emperor serves as a symbolic representation of the complete collapse of the Brotherhood that once held the Legion together. Power and its corruptive influence form another central theme of Asterisk Galaxy in Flames Asterisk. Horus's transformation from the Emperor's trusted warmaster into a traitor is the result of his exposure to the manipulative forces of chaos. However, Horus's fall is not just the work of external forces, it is rooted in his own ambition, pride, and the belief that he can rule better than his father. Chaos, in this context, serves as a catalyst that brings out Horus's latent ambitions and distorts his perception of what is best for humanity. Throughout the novel, Counter portrays chaos not as an outright evil force, but as a corruptive influence that amplifies the flaws already present in its victims. Horus's transformation is not a simple matter of possession. Instead, it is a gradual erosion of his ideals and a manipulation of his vision for the future. Horus truly believes that the Emperor's vision is flawed, and that the Primarchs should rule in his stead. Chaos feeds on this belief, pushing him to rationalize his betrayal as a necessary act to save humanity from the Emperor's supposed tyranny. The corruption of power is not limited to Horus alone. Other characters, particularly Fulgrim and Lucius of the Emperor's Children, also demonstrate how ambition can lead to moral decay. Fulgrim, once a paragon of perfection, becomes obsessed with self-indulgence and the pursuit of physical and aesthetic perfection, falling under the sway of Slanesh, the chaos god of excess. Lucius's descent into madness is similarly fueled by his ego and desire for recognition. His eventual betrayal of Saul Tarvitz is emblematic of the way in which ambition, when unchecked, can lead to the destruction of honor and loyalty. Symbolically, chaos represents the darker side of ambition, where power is pursued for its own sake, devoid of moral restraint. Characters who succumb to chaos are those who allow their ambitions to override their sense of duty and loyalty, leading to their eventual corruption. Horus's rebellion, therefore, is not just a political or military conflict, it is a moral and spiritual war, where the ideals of the Emperor's Imperium are pitted against the ambitions of those who have fallen under chaos's influence. While the novel is dominated by the theme of betrayal, it also highlights the importance of loyalty and sacrifice. Characters like Garviel Loken, Saul Tarvitz, and Nathaniel Garrow represent the unwavering loyalty to the Emperor and the ideals of the Imperium. Despite the overwhelming odds, these characters remain committed to their principles even in the face of certain death. The Loyalist resistance on Istvan III is framed as a tragic yet noble act of defiance. They are fully aware that their cause is doomed, outnumbered, and betrayed by their own brothers. But they continue to fight out of a sense of duty and honor. Their willingness to sacrifice their lives for the Emperor's cause contrasts sharply with the self-serving ambition of the traitors. For the Loyalists, loyalty is not just about following orders, it is a moral imperative, a commitment to the greater good, even when that loyalty is no longer rewarded or even acknowledged by those in power. Saul Tarvitz, in particular, embodies this theme of loyalty and sacrifice. His quick thinking and leadership during the virus bombing saved the lives of many loyalists and his refusal to abandon his comrades makes him one of the novel's most heroic figures. Tarvit's loyalty is driven not by blind obedience, but by a deep sense of responsibility to his fellow warriors. His final stand on Istvan III is an act of defiance against the chaos and betrayal that has consumed the galaxy, making him a symbol of hope in an otherwise bleak narrative. Loken too is a tragic figure of loyalty. His steadfast commitment to the Emperor, despite his personal respect and admiration for Horus, highlights the painful choice that many loyalists face. Loken's internal struggle, his attempt to reconcile his loyalty to the Emperor with his love for his brothers in the Lunar Wolves, adds emotional depth to the novel's portrayal of loyalty. In the end, Loken chooses to stand with the Emperor, even though it means turning against those he once considered family. His ultimate fate is a reflection of the cost of loyalty in the context of the Horus heresy. The loyalists may stand for honor, but they are destined to fall in the face of overwhelming betrayal. Galaxyinflames is steeped in the sense of tragic inevitability. From the very beginning, it is clear that the events of the novel are leading toward a catastrophic end. The Horus heresy itself is presented as an unstoppable force, a galactic civil war that will bring the Imperium to its knees. The loyalists on Istvan III are caught in the middle of this maelstrom, their fate sealed from the moment Horus gives the order to launch the virus bombs. This theme of inevitability is reinforced by the novel's structure and pacing. Counter builds tension slowly, showing the gradual build-up to the betrayal, but even in the early stages, there is a sense that the outcome is predetermined. The loyalists, despite their courage and resilience, are fighting a losing battle. No matter how bravely they resist, they cannot escape the fate that has been set in motion by Horus's rebellion. The inevitability of the loyalist defeat also mirrors the larger arc of the Horus heresy. Just as the loyalists on Istvan III are doomed, so too is the Imperium destined to be plunged into chaos and civil war. The Horus heresy is not a conflict that can be avoided or reversed. It is the culmination of years of tension, ambition, and corruption within the Imperium. The novel's portrayal of this inevitability adds to the sense of tragedy as readers are forced to watch the destruction of the Brotherhood and ideals that once defined the Space Marine legions. Symbolically, this theme of inevitability is represented through the virus bombing itself, a weapon of mass destruction that cannot be stopped once it has been unleashed. The virus spreads with terrifying speed, wiping out everything in its path, much like the chaos that Horus has unleashed upon the galaxy. The Loyalists' attempts to resist are noble, but ultimately futile, as they are overwhelmed by forces beyond their control. In this way, Galaxyinflames captures the tragic futility of fighting against fate, a theme that will continue to resonate throughout the rest of the Horus Heresy series. The virus bombing of Istvan III is not only a key plot point, but also serves as a powerful symbol within the novel. On a literal level, the virus bombing is Horus's method of purging his forces of loyalists, a genocidal act designed to cleanse his ranks of any potential opposition. However, on a symbolic level, the virus bombing represents the destruction of purity and innocence, as well as the cleansing fire of betrayal. Horus's decision to unleash such a catastrophic weapon on his own forces illustrates the absolute ruthlessness of his rebellion. The virus, spreading silently and rapidly across the surface of Istvan III, annihilates everything in its path, both loyalist space marines and the planetary populace alike. This act of mass destruction symbolizes the moral decay that has taken hold of Horus and his traitor forces, as they are willing to commit atrocities against their own to ensure the success of their rebellion. The virus bombing can also be interpreted as a symbolic cleansing of the Space Marine legions. Just as the virus wipes out all life, leaving behind only the charred and lifeless remnants of the loyalist Astartes, Horus's rebellion seeks to purge the Imperium of its current leadership, including the Emperor himself, and replace it with a new order. The virus thus becomes a metaphor for the spread of chaos, an unseen insidious force that corrupts everything it touches, leaving death and destruction in its wake. The loyalist survivors who take refuge in the Coral City represent the few remaining uncorrupted elements of the Imperium, fighting against the overwhelming tide of betrayal and decay. Additionally, the act of virus bombing is a stark representation of the absolute break between Horus and his former loyalty to the Emperor. By committing such a heinous act, Horus symbolically severs the last ties that bind him to the ideals of the Imperium. The virus, in its indiscriminate and efficient destruction, mirrors Horus's complete abandonment of his former values, illustrating the irreversible nature of his betrayal. The Emperor's children, led by Fulgrim, serve as a powerful symbolic example of the theme of perfection corrupted. Once dedicated to the pursuit of excellence in all things, the Emperor's children have become a tragic cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the seductive allure of chaos. In Galaxy, in Flames Fulgrim and his legion fully embrace their fall from grace, indulging in excesses that would have once been unthinkable to them. The Emperor's children's descent into madness is portrayed through characters like Saul Tarvitz, who remains true to the Emperor's ideals, and Lucius, who is consumed by his own vanity and desire for recognition. Fulgrim's influence on the Legion is seen in the way his warriors revel in violence and decadence during the Istvan III massacre. They no longer fight for honor or the Emperor, instead they fight for the pleasure of destruction, a reflection of their embrace of Slanesh, the chaos god of excess and indulgence. Symbolically, the Emperor's children represent the broader theme of corruption in the Horus heresy. Their initial quest for perfection becomes twisted by chaos into an obsession with self-gratification and destruction. Fulgrim, once a paragon of beauty and discipline, is now a fallen Primarch whose pursuit of perfection has led him down a path of madness and ruin. The Legion's fall is a stark reminder that even the noblest of ideals can be perverted when ambition and pride are left unchecked. The contrast between Saul Tarvitz and Lucius further emphasizes this theme. Tarvitz remains grounded in his duty and loyalty, while Lucius's obsession with his own skill and fame drives him to betray his comrades. Their conflict is a microcosm of the larger struggle within the Legion, as the once great Emperor's children fracture under the weight of their own excesses. The tragic irony is that in their pursuit of perfection, they have become the embodiment of imperfection, flawed, corrupt, and consumed by chaos. The virus bombing in Galaxyinflames carries significant symbolic weight as an act of both destruction and transformation. On one hand, it is a horrifying and brutal tactic employed by Horus to rid himself of the loyalists in his ranks. The virus reduces the once strong Astartes and planetary civilians to liquefied remains, their physical forms completely obliterated in moments. But on a thematic level, this act of destruction represents more than just physical annihilation. It is also a metaphor for the transformation of the legions and the galaxy itself. Horus's betrayal and the virus bombing mark the beginning of a new era in the galaxy, one defined by chaos, civil war, and the corruption of the ideals that once held the Imperium together. The loyalist space marines who survive the bombing and take refuge in the Coral City are the last remnants of the old order, standing against a tide of change they cannot hope to stop. Their eventual defeat symbolizes the inevitability of this transformation, as the galaxy is reshaped by Horus's rebellion. The virus itself can be seen as a manifestation of chaos, spreading uncontrollably and leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. This mirrors the spread of Horus's rebellion, as his treachery infects the legions and brings the Imperium to the brink of collapse. The loyalist resistance on Istvan III, while valiant, is ultimately futile in the face of this overwhelming force. The survivors' fight against the traitors is a desperate attempt to hold on to the values of the old Imperium, but the virus bombing and the subsequent battle make it clear that these values are being swept away by the forces of corruption and ambition. In this sense, the virus bombing represents both the end of one era and the beginning of another. It is an act of destruction that signals the transformation of the galaxy into a battleground for the forces of chaos and the Imperium. The Loyalists' stand on Istvan III is a brief, shining moment of resistance, but it is also a tragic reminder that the old order is crumbling and a new, darker age is dawning. The Coral City, where the Loyalist survivors make their final stand, serves as a powerful symbol in the novel. As the setting for the climatic battle between the Loyalists and traitor forces, the Coral City represents the last bastion of hope and defiance in a galaxy that has been consumed by treachery. It is here that characters like Garviel Loken, Saul Tarvitz, and their allies choose to make their stand, knowing full well that they are outnumbered and outgunned. The city becomes a metaphor for the Loyalists' determination to hold on to their ideals, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The city itself is described in grand, imposing terms, with towering spires and fortified walls that once symbolized the strength and unity of the Imperium. But as the battle progresses, the city is gradually reduced to rubble, its majestic architecture crumbling under the relentless assault of Horus's traitor legions. This destruction mirrors the collapse of the Imperium's values, as the brotherhood that once united the Space Marine legions is torn apart by ambition and corruption. As the Loyalists fight to defend the Coral City, it becomes clear that the city's fall is inevitable. Despite their courage and resilience, the Loyalist forces are eventually overwhelmed and the city is left in ruins. This final act of destruction serves as a symbolic end to the ideals of the Great Crusade, as the Imperium's dream of unity and peace is shattered by the horrors of the Horus heresy. The Coral City's fall also represents the personal journey of the Loyalist characters, particularly Garviel Loken and Saul Tarvitz. Their decision to stand and fight, even when defeat is certain, reflects their commitment to honor and loyalty. The city's destruction, however, symbolizes the ultimate futility of their resistance. Just as the city crumbles around them, so too do the ideals they have fought to protect. In the end, The Coral City stands as a tragic symbol of defiance in the face of inevitable destruction, embodying the themes of loyalty, sacrifice, and the tragic cost of betrayal. Ben Counter's approach to storytelling in *Galaxyinflames* is defined by its tight structure, the use of multiple character perspectives, and a writing style that blends visceral action with introspective moments. Counterbalances the grandeur of galactic civil war with the intimate emotional turmoil of the characters, ensuring that the narrative scale never overwhelms the personal stakes. This section will explore how Counter's choices in narrative style and structure enhance the emotional and philosophical dimensions of the novel. One of the standout aspects of *Galaxy in Flames* is its use of multiple perspectives, a common narrative device in the Horus Heresy series. Counter shifts between the viewpoints of key characters, both loyalists and traitors, to give readers a more comprehensive understanding of the events and the personal conflicts driving the story. This technique allows readers to empathize with a wide range of characters, each of whom has their own motivations, struggles, and loyalties. By alternating between the perspectives of characters like Garvio Loken, Saul Tarvitz, Nathaniel Garrow, and Horus himself, Counter creates a multi-layered narrative that explores the emotional toll of the Horus Heresy on individuals across the galaxy. The contrast between the loyalist and traitor viewpoints deepens the novel's central themes of betrayal and loyalty, as readers are able to see how each side rationalizes their actions. For example, through Horus's perspective, we see a leader who genuinely believes that his rebellion is necessary to save humanity from the Emperor's tyranny. His conviction is unsettling, as it forces readers to grapple with the moral ambiguity of his actions. While Horus's methods are brutal, his motivations are complex and not entirely villainous. He sees himself as a liberator, not a conqueror. In contrast, Garvio Loken's perspective offers a tragic view of loyalty and honor. Loken, ever the principled warrior, struggles to reconcile his love and respect for Horus with the horrifying reality of his Primarch's betrayal. This internal conflict is what drives Loken's arc throughout the novel, and Counter uses it to build tension as Loken slowly comes to terms with the fact that his once great leader has fallen into darkness. The shifting perspectives also serve to underscore the chaos and confusion of the Civil War, as characters are torn between their allegiances to their legions, their primarchs, and the Emperor. The novel reflects the fracturing of brotherhood and trust. Each character's viewpoint offers a different piece of the puzzle, and by the end of the novel, readers are left with a kaleidoscopic view of the Horus Heresy's devastating impact. The pacing of *Galaxyinflames* is deliberate, designed to build tension gradually before delivering a series of explosive climaxes. The novel begins with a slow, ominous build-up as Horus's plans to betray the Emperor begin to take shape. This slow pacing in the early chapters allows Counter to fully develop the characters and their relationships, making the eventual betrayals all the more impactful. By spending time on the emotional and psychological struggles of characters like Loken and Tarvitz, Counter ensures that the story's action-packed sequences have real emotional stakes. The early sections of the novel focus heavily on character development and the simmering tension within the legions. Counter introduces moments of doubt and suspicion, particularly from Loken and Tarvitz, who begin to sense that something is wrong with Horus's leadership. This slow build-up creates a sense of dread, as readers are aware that a catastrophic betrayal is coming, but the characters are not fully prepared for the scale of the treachery they will face. Once the virus bombing of Istvan III occurs, the pacing shifts dramatically. The novel moves into a frenetic, action-packed sequence as the Loyalists scramble to survive the attack and organize a resistance. Counter's descriptions of the virus bombing are fast-paced and vivid, emphasizing the suddenness and brutality of Horus's betrayal. The shift in pacing mirrors the chaos of the battlefield, as the Loyalists are thrust into a desperate fight for survival. From this point onward, the novel maintains a relentless pace, with intense combat sequences and moments of high tension as the Loyalists defend the Coral City against overwhelming odds. However, even in these fast-paced sections, Counter does not lose sight of the emotional stakes. The pacing allows for moments of introspection, particularly from Loken, who reflects on the meaning of loyalty and the personal cost of fighting against his former brothers. The structure of the novel, a slow, character-driven build-up followed by a rapid descent into chaos, mirrors the broader arc of the Horus Heresy itself. The novel's pacing reflects the inevitability of the conflict. Once the betrayal begins, it cannot be stopped, and the galaxy is plunged into civil war. *Galaxyinflames* is structured as a three-part tragedy, with each section building upon the last to create a sense of inevitable doom. The novel follows a classical tragic structure, with an initial setup that introduces the characters and their motivations, followed by a dramatic turning point, the virus bombing of Istvan III, and finally, the catastrophic resolution. The first part of the novel is dedicated to establishing the tension within the legions. This section focuses on the growing suspicions of the loyalist characters, particularly Garvia Loken and Saul Tarvitz, as they begin to notice strange behaviour among their comrades. The slow pace and detailed character development in this section set the stage for the eventual betrayal. Readers are given insight into the relationships between the characters, making the later betrayals feel more personal and devastating. This section also explores Horus's motivations in greater depth, revealing the internal conflict that drives his rebellion. While Horus's corruption by chaos is clear, Counter emphasizes that Horus believes his actions are justified. This moral ambiguity adds complexity to the narrative and sets up the tragic fall that will occur later in the novel. The second part of the novel marks the turning point of the story, the virus bombing of Istvan III. This section is fast-paced and action-heavy, with Counter vividly describing the horrors of the virus and the chaos that ensues as the Loyalists scramble to survive. The virus bombing is a shocking act of betrayal, and Counter uses this event to highlight the full extent of Horus's fall. The Loyalist horror and confusion in the aftermath of the bombing serve to underscore the emotional weight of the betrayal. This section also introduces the key conflict of the novel, the Loyalist resistance against the traitor forces. The survivors, led by Tarvitz and Loken, rally to defend the Coral City, even as they realise that their chances of victory are slim. The tension in this section is palpable, as the Loyalists are constantly on the brink of annihilation. The third and final part of the novel is dedicated to the Loyalists' last stand in the Coral City. This section is both action-packed and emotionally charged, as the Loyalists fight a losing battle against their former brothers. Counter focuses on the personal sacrifices made by characters like Tarvitz and Loken, who are fully aware that they are fighting a doomed battle but choose to stand and fight regardless. The pacing in this section is relentless, mirroring the intensity of the battle. The structure of the novel, with its clear division into 3 parts, enhances the sense of inevitability that pervades the story. The virus bombing serves as the catalyst for the final collapse of the Brotherhood within the legions, and the Loyalists' final stand is a tragic but heroic effort to preserve the ideals of the Imperium. By structuring the novel in this way, Counter emphasized the tragic arc of the Horus heresy, where betrayal leads to destruction and the end of the dream of unity. One of Ben Counter's strengths as a writer is his ability to balance intense action sequences with moments of introspection. The combat scenes in Galaxyinflames are brutal and fast-paced, with vivid descriptions of the violence and chaos of the battlefield. Counter's attention to detail in these scenes allows readers to feel the immediacy and danger of the conflict, immersing them in the experience of war. The battles are not simply spectacles of violence, they carry emotional weight, as the characters are forced to fight against their former brothers, adding a layer of tragedy to the action. However, Counter also knows when to slow the pace and allow for moments of reflection. The characters often pause to consider the moral implications of their actions, particularly Loken and Tarvitz, who struggle with the emotional toll of fighting against their comrades. These moments of introspection are essential to the novel's emotional depth, as they give readers insight into the characters' internal struggles. For example, Loken's reflections on loyalty and betrayal are woven throughout the novel, creating a sense of internal conflict that mirrors the external conflict on the battlefield. His loyalty to Horus is deeply ingrained, but his commitment to the Emperor's ideals forces him to confront the painful reality of his Primarch's betrayal. These introspective moments add complexity to Loken's character and elevate the novel beyond a simple action story. By balancing action with introspection, Counter ensures that the novel remains engaging without sacrificing emotional depth. The action sequences are thrilling, but they are always grounded in the characters' personal stakes, making the battles feel more meaningful and tragic. The emotional climax of Galaxyinflames occurs during the final confrontations between the Loyalist survivors and the traitor forces in the Coral City. These confrontations are not just physical battles, they are ideological and emotional showdowns that represent the final breaking point of the Brotherhood within the Legions. Loken's confrontation with Abaddon is particularly powerful, as it symbolises the complete collapse of the ideals that once united the Lunar Wolves. Abaddon, now fully aligned with Horus and the forces of chaos, taunts Loken for his loyalty to the Emperor, mocking him for clinging to outdated notions of honour and duty. This confrontation is not just a physical battle, but a clash of ideologies. Loken, representing loyalty in the old order, versus Abaddon, who has embraced the new chaotic vision of the galaxy. Counter's handling of these final confrontations is masterful, as he uses them to explore the emotional consequences of betrayal and the personal cost of standing by one's principles. The Loyalists, particularly Loken and Tarvitz, are fully aware that they are fighting a losing battle, but they choose to stand and fight anyway. This sense of doomed heroism gives the novel its emotional weight, as as readers witness the tragic fall of characters who remain true to their ideals even in the face of certain death. The final stand in the Coral City serves as the emotional and thematic culmination of the novel. It represents the last vestige of resistance against Horus's rebellion and the final desperate attempt to preserve the ideals of the Imperium. The Loyalists' defeat is inevitable, but their sacrifice is portrayed as noble and heroic, underscoring the tragic cost of loyalty in a galaxy torn apart by ambition and betrayal. *Galaxyinflames* holds a crucial place within the Horus Heresy series, serving as the tipping point where Horus's betrayal is fully realized and the galaxy is plunged into civil war. As the third book in the Horus Heresy series, it picks up where Horus, Rising and False Gods leave off, bringing the carefully laid groundwork of Horus's corruption to a devastating conclusion. In this novel, Ben Counter doesn't just explore the personal impacts of Horus's betrayal, he also expands the narrative scope to illustrate the larger consequences of this treachery for the Imperium and the Astartes legions. The novel's events, particularly the Istvan III massacre, serve as a watershed moment in the Horus Heresy, marking the beginning of Horus's open rebellion against the Emperor and the shattering of the Brotherhood that once united the Space Marine legions. The consequences of this betrayal resonate throughout the remainder of the Horus Heresy series, as the Imperium is torn apart by civil war and the Primarchs themselves are forced to choose sides in the conflict. In the broader context of the Horus Heresy, the Istvan III massacre is one of the most significant events in the entire series, and *Galaxyinflames* is the novel that chronicles this pivotal moment. The Istvan III campaign is the first open act of rebellion by Horus and his traitor legions, as they unleash a viral bombardment on their own forces in an attempt to purge loyalist elements from their ranks. This event marks the point of no return for Horus and his followers, solidifying their break from the Emperor and setting the stage for the full-scale civil war that will consume the galaxy. The importance of Istvan III cannot be overstated, as it is the first time the traitor legions openly turn against their loyalist brothers. Prior to this, Horus's corruption was largely hidden, with only a few individuals, such as Garvio Loken and Saul Tarvitz, beginning to suspect that something was amiss. The virus bombing and subsequent battle on Istvan III, however, make Horus's intentions clear to all. It is here that the lines are drawn and the loyalist Astartes are forced to confront the horrifying reality that their beloved Warmaster has betrayed them. Ben Counter's depiction of the Istvan III massacre highlights the emotional and psychological devastation wrought by this betrayal. For the loyalists who survived the virus bombing, the realization that they have been abandoned and betrayed by their Primarch is a moment of profound disillusionment. Characters like Loken and Tarvitz, who have spent their entire lives fighting for the Emperor and the ideals of the Great Crusade, are suddenly thrust into a nightmare where their former comrades have become their enemies. This sense of betrayal is central to the emotional core of the novel and is a theme that will continue to resonate throughout the rest of the Horus Heresy series. In terms of the larger narrative of the Horus Heresy, the Istvan III massacre serves as the catalyst for the events that follow. The open rebellion on Istvan III is what alerts the Emperor and the loyalist Primarchs to the threat posed by Horus, and it is this act that sparks the full-scale civil war that will engulf the galaxy. In this sense, *Galaxyinflames* can be seen as the true beginning of the Horus Heresy, as it is the moment when Horus's treachery is revealed to the wider Imperium. Another key element of *Galaxyinflames* is its exploration of the descent of the traitor legions into madness, chaos, and corruption. The novel focuses on three main traitor legions: the Sons of Horus, formerly the Lunar Wolves, the World Eaters, and the Emperor's Children, all of whom play critical roles in the broader narrative of the Horus Heresy. The Sons of Horus, led by the Warmaster himself, are at the center of the rebellion. In *Galaxyinflames*, we witness the final stages of their transformation from the noble Lunar Wolves into the ruthless and corrupted Sons of Horus. This transformation is symbolized by characters like Ezekiel Abaddon, who fully embrace Horus's new vision and cast aside the loyalty and brotherhood that once defined their legion. Abaddon's confrontation with Loken serves as a microcosm of the larger ideological split within the legions, as loyalty to the Emperor is replaced by loyalty to Horus and his ambitions. The novel also explores the psychological impact of Horus's betrayal on his own forces. Many of the Sons of Horus are still grappling with the realization that their Primarch has turned against the Emperor, and this internal conflict adds depth to the novel's portrayal of the traitor legions. Characters like Loken, who remain loyal to the Emperor, represent the last vestiges of the Lunar Wolves' former honor, while Abaddon and the other traitors symbolize the legion's descent into darkness. The World Eaters, led by the bloodthirsty Primarch Angron, are depicted as one of the most violent and chaotic of the traitor legions. Their role in the Istvan III massacre is characterized by unrestrained brutality as they revel in the slaughter of their former brothers. Angron's influence on his legion is evident in their embrace of mindless violence and destruction, and Counter uses the World Eaters to illustrate the more extreme elements of Chaos's corruptive power. The World Eaters' participation in the massacre highlights the breakdown of discipline and honor within the traitor legions. Once proud warriors, they have become little more than berserk killers, driven by bloodlust and hatred. This degeneration is a key theme in the Horus Heresy series, as it shows how the once noble ideals of the Space Marine legions are twisted and destroyed by chaos. The Emperor's children, led by Fulgrim, represent a different kind of corruption, one rooted in the pursuit of perfection and excess. In Galaxyinflames, we see the early stages of the Emperor's children's fall to Slanesh, the chaos god of excess and decadence. Fulgrim's obsession with achieving perfection has already begun to corrupt his legion, and characters like Lucius, the Eternal, exemplify this descent into madness. The Emperor's children's role in the Istvan III massacre is marked by a disturbing blend of beauty and violence. Fulgrim and his warriors take a perverse pleasure in the slaughter, viewing it as an art form rather than a military necessity. This twisted mindset reflects the deeper corruption that has taken hold of the Legion, as their pursuit of perfection has led them down a path of self-destruction. By the end of the novel, it is clear that the Emperor's children have fully embraced their fall from grace, and they will play a major role in the spread of chaos throughout the galaxy. Galaxyinflames is not just a pivotal novel within the Horus Heresy series, it also serves as an important piece of the larger Warhammer 40,000 lore. The events of the Horus Heresy have a profound impact on the setting of Warhammer 40k, shaping the galaxy for millennia to come. The betrayal of Horus, the civil war that follows, and the ultimate fate of the traitor and loyalist legions are central to the backstory of the Warhammer 40k universe. One of the key contributions of Galaxy in Flames to the lore is its exploration of the internal dynamics of the Space Marine legions. The novel provides readers with a detailed look at the relationships between the Primarchs and their Astartes, as well as the impact of the Horus Heresy on these relationships. The betrayal at Istvan III is a microcosm of the larger split that will occur across the galaxy as legions are torn apart by conflicting loyalties and ideological differences. The novel also deepens our understanding of the influence of chaos on the galaxy. While chaos has always been a lurking threat in the Warhammer 40k universe, the Horus Heresy series and Galaxy in Flames in particular shows how chaos manipulates and corrupts even the most powerful and noble figures in the Imperium. Horus's fall is not just a personal tragedy, it is a reflection of the broader struggle between order and chaos that defines the Warhammer 40k setting. The novel's depiction of chaos as an insidious force that preys on ambition, pride and fear adds complexity to the moral landscape of the series. Additionally, Galaxyinflames introduces key events and characters that will continue to shape the Warhammer 40k universe. Characters like Loken, Garrow and Abaddon play critical roles in the future of the galaxy, and their arcs in this novel set the stage for their eventual fates. For example, Loken's fall in the battle for Istvan III marks the beginning of his transformation into a legendary figure of resistance, while Abaddon's rise as Horus's most trusted lieutenant foreshadows his future as the leader of the Black Legion. Beyond the immediate events of the Istvan III massacre, Galaxyinflames is instrumental in setting the stage for the broader civil war that will engulf the galaxy during the Horus Heresy. By the end of the novel, the loyalist forces on Istvan III have been wiped out, and Horus's plans for rebellion are fully in motion. The novel leaves readers on the cusp of a galaxy-wide conflict, with the full weight of Horus's betrayal yet to be realized. The novel also hints at the larger political and military ramifications of the Horus Heresy. Horus's rebellion is not just a personal vendetta against the Emperor, it is a calculated effort to destabilize the Imperium and reshape it in his image. As the novel progresses, we see how Horus's plans extend far beyond Istvan III as he gathers allies among the traitor Primarchs and prepares to launch a full-scale assault on the Emperor's forces. In the broader context of the Horus Heresy series, Galaxyinflames serves as the spark that ignites the full-scale civil war. The massacre at Istvan III is the first major battle of the heresy, but it is only the beginning. The events of the novel set in motion a chain of events that will lead to some of the most iconic battles in Warhammer 40k lore, including the Siege of Terra and the eventual downfall of Horus himself. By focusing on the personal and emotional stakes of the conflict, Galaxyinflames humanizes the larger war and reminds readers of the devastating cost of civil war. *Galaxy-in-Flames* holds a crucial place within the Horus Heresy series, serving as the tipping point where Horus's betrayal is fully realized and the galaxy is plunged into civil war. As the third book in the Horus Heresy series, it picks up where Horus, Rising and False Gods leave off, bringing the carefully laid groundwork of Horus's corruption to a devastating conclusion. In this novel, Ben Counter doesn't just explore the personal impacts of Horus's betrayal, he also expands the narrative scope to illustrate the larger consequences of this treachery for the Imperium and the Astartes legions. The novel's events, particularly the Istvan III massacre, serve as a watershed moment in the Horus Heresy, marking the beginning of Horus's open rebellion against the Emperor and the shattering of the Brotherhood that once united the Space Marine legions. The consequences of this betrayal resonate throughout the remainder of the Horus Heresy series, as the Imperium is torn apart by civil war and the Primarchs themselves are forced to choose sides in the conflict. In the broader context of the Horus Heresy, the Istvan III massacre is one of the most significant events in the entire series, and *Galaxy-in-Flames* is the novel that chronicles this pivotal moment. The Istvan III campaign is the first open act of rebellion by Horus and his traitor legions, as they unleash a viral bombardment on their own forces in an attempt to purge loyalist elements from their ranks. This event marks the point of no return for Horus and his followers, solidifying their break from the Emperor and setting the stage for the full-scale civil war that will consume the galaxy. The importance of Istvan III cannot be overstated, as it is the first time the traitor legions openly turn against their loyalist brothers. Prior to this, Horus's corruption was largely hidden, with only a few individuals such as Garviel Loken and Saul Tarvitz beginning to suspect that something was amiss. The virus bombing and subsequent battle on Istvan III, however, make Horus's intentions clear to all. It is here that the lines are drawn and the loyalist Astartes are forced to confront the horrifying reality that their beloved Warmaster has betrayed them. Ben Counter's depiction of the Istvan III massacre highlights the emotional and psychological devastation wrought by this betrayal. For the loyalists who survived the virus bombing, the realization that they have been abandoned and betrayed by their Primarch is a moment of profound disillusionment. Characters like Loken and Tarvitz, who have spent their entire lives fighting for the Emperor and the ideals of the Great Crusade, are suddenly thrust into a nightmare where their former comrades have become their enemies. This sense of betrayal is central to the emotional core of the novel and is a theme that will continue to resonate throughout the rest of the Horus Heresy series. In terms of the larger narrative of the Horus Heresy, the Istvan III massacre serves as the catalyst for the events that follow. The open rebellion on Istvan III is what alerts the Emperor and the loyalist Primarchs to the threat posed by Horus, and it is this act that sparks the full-scale civil war that will engulf the galaxy. In this sense, *Galaxy-in-Flames* can be seen as the true beginning of the Horus Heresy, as it is the moment when Horus's treachery is revealed to the wider Imperium. Another key element of *Galaxy-in-Flames* is its exploration of the descent of the traitor legions into madness, chaos, and corruption. The novel focuses on three main traitor legions: the Sons of Horus, formerly the Lunar Wolves, the World Eaters, and the Emperor's Children, all of whom play critical roles in the broader narrative of the Horus Heresy. The Sons of Horus, led by the Warmaster himself, are at the center of the rebellion. In *Galaxy-in-Flames*, we witness the final stages of their transformation from the noble Lunar Wolves into the ruthless and corrupted Sons of Horus. This transformation is symbolized by characters like Ezekiel Abaddon, who fully embrace Horus's new vision and cast aside the loyalty and brotherhood that once defined their legion. Abaddon's confrontation with Loken serves as a microcosm of the larger ideological split within the legions, as loyalty to the Emperor is replaced by loyalty to Horus and his ambitions. The novel also explores the psychological impact of Horus's betrayal on his own forces. Many of the Sons of Horus are still grappling with the realization that their Primarch has turned against the Emperor, and this internal conflict adds depth to the novel's portrayal of the traitor legions. Characters like Loken, who remain loyal to the Emperor, represent the last vestiges of the Lunar Wolves' former honor, while Abaddon and the other traitors symbolize the Legion's descent into darkness. The World Eaters, led by the bloodthirsty Primarch Angron, are depicted as one of the most violent and chaotic of the traitor legions. Their role in the Istvan III massacre is characterized by unrestrained brutality, as they revel in the slaughter of their former brothers. Angron's influence on his legion is evident in their embrace of mindless violence and destruction, and Counter uses the World Eaters to illustrate the more extreme elements of Chaos's corruptive power. The World Eaters' participation in the massacre highlights the breakdown of discipline and honor within the traitor legions. Once proud warriors, they have become little more than berserk killers, driven by bloodlust and hatred. This degeneration is a key theme in the Horus Heresy series, as it shows how the once noble ideals of the Space Marine legions are twisted and destroyed by chaos. The Emperor's children, led by Fulgrim, represent a different kind of corruption, one rooted in the pursuit of perfection and excess. In Galaxyinflames we see the early stages of the Emperor's children's fall to Slanesh, the chaos god of excess and decadence. Fulgrim's obsession with achieving perfection has already begun to corrupt his legion, and characters like Lucius the Eternal exemplify this descent into madness. The Emperor's children's role in the Istvan III massacre is marked by a disturbing blend of beauty and violence. Fulgrim and his warriors take a perverse pleasure in the slaughter, viewing it as an art form rather than a military necessity. This twisted mindset reflects the deeper corruption that has taken hold of the Legion, as their pursuit of perfection has led them down a path of self-destruction. By the end of the novel, it is clear that the Emperor's children have fully embraced their fall from grace, and they will play a major role in the spread of chaos throughout the galaxy. Galaxyinflames is not just a pivotal novel within the Horus Heresy series, it also serves as an important piece of the larger Warhammer 40,000 lore. The events of the Horus Heresy have a profound impact on the setting of Warhammer 40k, shaping the galaxy for millennia to come. The betrayal of Horus, the civil war that follows, and the ultimate fate of the traitor and loyalist legions are central to the backstory of the Warhammer 40k universe. One of the key contributions of Galaxyinflames to the lore is its exploration of the internal dynamics of the Space Marine legions. The novel provides readers with a detailed look at the relationships between the Primarchs and their Astartes, as well as the impact of the Horus Heresy on these relationships. The betrayal at Istvan III is a microcosm of the larger split that will occur across the galaxy as legions are torn apart by conflicting loyalties and ideological differences. The novel also deepens our understanding of the influence of chaos on the galaxy. While chaos has always been a lurking threat in the Warhammer 40k universe, the Horus Heresy series and Galaxyinflames in particular shows how chaos manipulates and corrupts even the most powerful and noble figures in the Imperium. Horus's fall is not just a personal tragedy, it is a reflection of the broader struggle between order and chaos that defines the Warhammer 40k setting. The novel's depiction of chaos as an insidious force that preys on ambition, pride, and fear adds complexity to the moral landscape of the series. Additionally, Galaxyinflames introduces key events and characters that will continue to shape the Warhammer 40k universe. Characters like Loken, Garrow, and Abaddon play critical roles in the future of the galaxy, and their arcs in this novel set the stage for their eventual fates. For example, Loken's fall in the battle for Istvan III marks the beginning of his transformation into a legendary figure of resistance, while Abaddon's rise as Horus's most trusted lieutenant foreshadows his future as the leader of the Black Legion. Beyond the immediate events of the Istvan III massacre, Galaxyinflames is instrumental in setting the stage for the broader civil war that will engulf the galaxy during the Horus Heresy. By the end of the novel, the loyalist forces on Istvan III have been wiped out, and Horus's plans for rebellion are fully in motion. The novel leaves readers on the cusp of a galaxy-wide conflict with the full weight of Horus's betrayal yet to be realized. The novel also hints at the larger political and military ramifications of the Horus Heresy. Horus's rebellion is not just a personal vendetta against the Emperor, it is a calculated effort to destabilize the Imperium and reshape it in his image. As the novel progresses, we see how Horus's plans extend far beyond Istvan III, as he gathers allies among the traitor Primarchs and prepares to launch a full-scale assault on the Emperor's forces. In the broader context of the Horus Heresy series, Galaxyinflames serves as the spark that ignites the full-scale civil war. The massacre at Istvan III is the first major battle of the heresy, but it is only the beginning. The events of the novel set in motion a chain of events that will lead to some of the most iconic battles in Warhammer 40k lore, including the Siege of Terra and the eventual downfall of Horus himself. By focusing on the personal and emotional stakes of the conflict, Galaxyinflames humanizes the larger war and reminds readers of the devastating cost of civil war. One of the most powerful aspects of Galaxyinflames is its emotional depth. especially in how it portrays the tragedy of betrayal. Counter's ability to convey the personal stakes of Horus's betrayal, particularly through characters like Garviel Loken, Saul Tarvitz, and Nathaniel Garrow, adds significant emotional weight to the narrative. These characters, who represent the best of what the Imperium stands for, are forced to confront the horrifying reality that their Primarch has turned against them. This emotional core, centered on the shattering of brotherhood and trust, elevates the novel from a simple tale of war to a deeply tragic meditation on loyalty and ambition. The novel's portrayal of betrayal is not limited to large-scale events like the Istvan III massacre. It is also explored on a personal level. For Loken and Tarvitz, their sense of betrayal is felt most keenly, not just because Horus has turned against the Emperor, but because their closest comrades, men they once considered brothers, are now their enemies. The internal conflict this creates for Loken, in particular, is one of the most compelling aspects of the novel. He is a character torn between his love and loyalty for Horus and his unwavering commitment to the Emperor's ideals. This conflict adds depth to his character and makes his eventual stand against Horus's forces all the more heroic and tragic. Similarly, Tarvitz's leadership during the Istvan III massacre exemplifies the nobility and selflessness of the loyalist Space Marines. Counter portrays Tarvitz as a pragmatic and resourceful leader, but also as a man deeply committed to the protection of his brothers. His decision to stay behind on Istvan III and lead the loyalists in their last stand, knowing full well that it is a doomed cause, is a testament to his character. This self-sacrifice, coupled with his unshakable belief in the Emperor's cause, gives Tarvitz's arc a heroic and poignant conclusion. Another strength of Asterisk, Galaxyinflames Asterisk, is Ben Counter's ability to write vivid and engaging action sequences. The novel is filled with intense battles, and Counter does an excellent job of conveying the brutality and chaos of war. The virus bombing of Istvan III, in particular, is described in harrowing detail, capturing the sheer horror of the massacre. The quick, devastating spread of the virus and the desperation of the loyalists as they scramble to find shelter create a sense of urgency and terror that permeates the first half of the novel. Once the loyalists regroup and begin their resistance in the Coral City, the action sequences become even more intense. Counter's descriptions of the combat are brutal, visceral, and often emotionally charged. The loyalists' desperate defense against overwhelming traitor forces is depicted with a sense of futility, but also with a fierce determination that makes their eventual defeat all the more tragic. Counter's attention to detail in describing the weapons, tactics, and movements of the Space Marines adds a layer of realism to the battles, immersing the reader in the chaos of war. One of the novel's most memorable action sequences is the final confrontation between Loken and Abaddon. This battle, which pits two former brothers against each other, is not only a physical clash, but also an ideological one. Loken represents the last vestiges of loyalty to the Emperor, while Abaddon has fully embraced the path of rebellion and corruption. Counter uses this battle to explore the complete breakdown of the bonds of brotherhood within the Lunar Wolves, and the scene's emotional intensity makes it one of the novel's high points. Despite the novel's large ensemble cast, Counter does an admirable job of giving each of the key characters enough depth and development to make their arcs meaningful. Loken, Tarvitz, and Garrow are portrayed as honourable and noble warriors, but they are also complex and multifaceted characters who struggle with the personal implications of the Horus heresy. Their internal conflicts, particularly Loken's, are well drawn and add emotional weight to the story. Even the traitor characters, such as Horus, Fulgrim, and Abaddon, are given enough nuance to prevent them from being one-dimensional villains. Horus's motivations are complex. While he has clearly been corrupted by chaos, he genuinely believes that his rebellion is for the greater good. This moral ambiguity makes Horus a tragic figure, as he's not driven solely by greed or power, but by a distorted vision of what is best for humanity. Counter's portrayal of Horus as a fallen hero adds layers to the story and prevents the novel from descending into a simple good versus evil narrative. Abaddon's character, though more ruthless and aggressive, also reflects the broader themes of loyalty and betrayal. His rejection of Loken's loyalty to the Emperor and his embrace of Horus's new vision reflect the ideological split that has fractured the Legion. Abaddon's willingness to sacrifice his former brothers for the sake of his newfound cause adds a chilling dimension to his character and sets him up as one of the series' most formidable antagonists. One of the most striking aspects of Asterisk Galaxyinflames Asterisk is its exploration of the ideological conflict at the heart of the Horus heresy. The novel delves into the tension between loyalty to the Emperor and loyalty to the Primarchs, particularly through the characters of Loken and Tarvitz. These characters are caught between their devotion to the Emperor's vision for humanity and their personal loyalty to their Primarchs, who have turned against that vision. This ideological conflict is the driving force behind much of the emotional weight of the novel, as the characters are forced to make impossible choices between loyalty to their ideals and loyalty to their brothers. Counter does an excellent job of highlighting the tragic consequences of this ideological split. The battles on Istvan III are not simply military engagements, they are a manifestation of the larger philosophical and moral divide within the legions. The virus bombing and the subsequent clashes between loyalists and traitors symbolise the collapse of the unity that once defined the Space Marines, and the novel's focus on the personal ramifications of this collapse adds depth to the story. One potential critique of *Galaxyinflames* is that its plot progression is somewhat predictable, particularly for readers familiar with the broader lore of the Horus heresy. The novel follows a fairly straightforward trajectory, moving from the build-up to the Istvan III massacre to the Loyalists' final stand in the Coral City. For those who are well versed in Warhammer 40,000 history, the outcome of the story is already known. Istvan III is a tragic failure for the Loyalists, and the traitors ultimately prevail. While the emotional and character-driven elements of the story compensate for this predictability, the lack of surprising plot twists or deviations from the expected narrative arc may leave some readers wanting more in terms of narrative innovation. That said, *Galaxyinflames* is part of a larger, ongoing series, and its role in depicting this crucial moment in Warhammer 40k lore makes its predictability somewhat forgivable. Another area where the novel could have been expanded is in its exploration of secondary characters. While Counter does an excellent job of developing the main characters, Loken, Tarvitz and Garrow, some of the secondary characters, particularly among the traitor forces, are less fleshed out. Characters like Eidolon and Lucius, while significant figures in the Emperor's Children, could have been given more depth and attention to further enhance the narrative's exploration of corruption and ambition within the traitor legions. Lucius, for example, is depicted as a highly skilled but vain and ambitious swordsman, and his eventual betrayal of Tarvitz is a key moment in the story. However, his descent into madness and his embrace of the darker aspects of the Emperor's Children's philosophy could have been explored in greater detail. Similarly, Eidolon's role as a corrupt and arrogant leader could have been expanded to provide more insight into the internal dynamics of the traitor legions. While *Galaxyinflames* focuses on the Istvan III massacre and the personal struggles of the Loyalists, some readers may feel that the scope of the story is somewhat limited in comparison to the broader galactic conflict of the Horus heresy. The novel is primarily concerned with the events on Istvan III, and while this is an important moment in the series, it is just one part of the larger rebellion. Expanding the novel's scope to include more insight into the wider ramifications of the Horus heresy, such as the political and military fallout across the Imperium, could have added another layer to the story. That said, the novel's focus on personal and emotional stakes is one of its strengths, and expanding the scope might have detracted from the intimate, character-driven nature of the narrative.